increase in state payment rates. Minnesotans are remembering Clyde Belcourt, a giant in Native Americans' fight for civil rights, who died yesterday at the age of 85 at his home in Minneapolis. Belcourt, in a 1990s interview, said that he saw himself as the diplomat among the founders of the American Indian movement.
It has to be tough. We got to get out. We're such a small minority that we knew that we had to carry our struggle into the streets. We had to become vocal. We had to use whatever means necessary to change these conditions that we live under.
Lieutenant Governor Peggy Flanagan says that few have advocated harder and longer than Belcourt did. A COVID-19 outbreak on the UAD men's hockey team has forced the postponement of games with Omaha this weekend. The series was set up for Friday and Saturday at Ralph Engelstad Arena. A makeup date has not been determined. The KFGO Weather Center forecast for meteorologist Tom Szymanski. This afternoon, mostly cloudy, lows in the mid-30s. Tonight, low of 16, mostly cloudy, slight chance for light snow or a light mixed bag before midnight. Tomorrow, high of 24, mostly cloudy, and Friday, high of 20, low of 15, cloudy and breezy with areas of snow. I'm Madison Quinn, News Radio, KFGO.
Peak of the week, Wednesday. I had that euphoric moment earlier today because I really got to the office thinking that it's Tuesday and how badly this week was dragging. And lo and behold, it's already Wednesday. So I guess a victory early on for us. Yeah, and I expected today to come in here and talk a little bit about news out of South Dakota because they have a legislative session going on. So I figured, we'll talk about Governor Noem's remarks. We'll see what's going on down there. But the KFGO news that really caught my attention in South Dakota, nothing to do with the legislature, but it might, in fact, get their attention because this topic is something that, of the early introduced bills, this was the area of attention. It has to do with marijuana. But could you imagine this moment being, well, first off, the question of a 46-year-old man charged with possession of a controlled drug or substance, because if you didn't hear this story on KFGO News during one of the updates, you can go to kfgo.com and check it out. But officials in South Dakota, man's facing a felony drug charge after his mother unknowingly served his marijuana-laced brownies to a group of seniors at a local community center. This is... I trust that everyone that was... consuming unknowingly, doing fine. I do understand. An investigation began when the county dispatchers received several calls after, people feeling weird. January 4th, so last week. All calls involved seniors who had earlier been to the community center playing a card game. Could you imagine being the 46-year-old dude that made these brownies, gave them to your mother before she went to the community center for the senior card game?
Wasn't there a similar plot line in that 70s show that involved special brownies and a yard sale and all the parents accidentally consumed them?
That show was so good earlier on.
It really was. And I feel like that's probably pretty similar to what that card game was, the most lively and exciting card game that has
it might
been
not have been. It could also have been the slower card game. We don't
exciting
know.
Nonetheless.
Well, worrisome.
I'm guessing the giggles
paranoia.
I don't want to make light of it because this is a thing that you don't want anyone to unknowingly ingest anything.
Kidding. Well, that's the question. Unknowingly, did he unknowingly give his mother these,
or did she grab the wrong pan, or did she grab them?
Oh, I think she outed him, saying, "Look, he's the one that made these."
Right? Yeah. What happened in the time that between when they were made and when they were consumed, I think is the key.
Yeah, well, that's what an investigation is going on. Felony charges, 46-year-old 46-year-old men. I clearly am having trouble speaking. That's great for a talk show host. That's 13 minutes into a 3-hour show. Thanks for bearing with me. We'll get through it together here. That will just caught my attention. It's like you're saying, don't want to make light of it. I the way I understand it, everyone that was consuming, they're okay. Just one of those that catches your attention. Of all the things that's going on in South Dakota, not the one that I expected to be leading the news on a Wednesday afternoon with so much going on. We are going to be spending a lot of time in Minnesota today, and it's not just isolated to those Minnesota residents, because a lot of you listening to me right now, you go down to the Twin Cities. I'm going to question the timing earlier on of what I'm about to tell you, because just within the last 20 minutes, news has broke out that Minneapolis and St. Paul are going to require either proof of vaccine or proof of a negative test to dine at restaurants. And the way I understand it, that's going to start next week. The Bill Werner, a friend here in a Capitol correspondent, is going to tell us about that and some other things going on in what the Walz administration. But when you look at the timing of this, do you think at all that Minneapolis, St. Paul decided to hold out until the Vikings were no longer going to be in? Because I know they had the mask mandate at U.S. Bank last week. We'll ask. I understand that the Omicron variant and the surge going on, the one that's just burning out everyone because we thought we knew and now we don't know, and everything seems to be confusing for those that are vaccinated, for those that aren't, for those that have children that have tested positive, but they still have to get to work as parents, and the fact that they're allowed to, everything going on here and just leaving people scratching their heads here. If you hadn't had a chance, if you don't already, I'd encourage you to subscribe to the Washington Post, or at least go check out one of the things, the Omicron surge and the confusion. It was a great article, and I think it captures everybody's fatigue with this, and that's where, when we get ready and we prepare for the show, and you try to get a finger on the pulse of what's going on. This seemingly nonstop story, spotlight, confusion, new information. Is it still the same as what we were told last week? The just pure dragging feeling of this nonstop pandemic. This Washington Post article captured it perfectly, from people that will not get vaccinated, those who have. It's all there. And I think for everyone listening, and I'm including myself here, that just the sheer exhaustion of it all, and to know that it's not going anywhere, to where now we're starting to see these things again pop up when it comes to mandates, and it's just, when does it end? I think is a question that, quite frankly, is one that's on a lot of people's minds. So we're going to visit with Bill at least about what is going on down in the Twin Cities about that. When it comes to one thing that I've been critical of this, that I was critical of the last administration on their handling of this pandemic early on, for sure. The kind of wishy-washy approach that was being taken about, getting people to do certain things that would help mitigate. If I was critical about that, I'm critical of this administration for not doing over the last year, and it's been a year now, trying to figure out how to show up and get these tests to people. If you're feeling symptomatic, you should be able to have an accessible, affordable test to at least give yourself a peace of mind. Because I know of some people that every little symptom now, they've convinced themselves, oh, here we are. There's a couple of things here. One, starting Saturday, if you have insurance, which you should, it's no longer a requirement or mandate, but your health insurance provider is supposed to be covering the cost of those at-home COVID-19 tests. So that's Saturday. It is now Wednesday, and I've got to tell you, visiting with the insurance companies, of which I've visited with more than just once, but it's not isolated, they still have no idea how they're going to administer this. They've been supportive of the concept, but they do not know. So if you go to CVS or your pharmacy, wherever it is in the small town, and they've got those rapid tests, you make a purchase, it's not clear as of right now whether, okay, well, here's my insurance card, or do you bring the receipt? Do you mail it in? There's so much confusion on that on top of everything else, just days away here. So you've got that mandate coming down just within a year now of this administration taking over. But the question is, where do you get these tests? Because it's become difficult in some areas to even find that very test that they're saying, look, you're not going to have to cover X amount of these. We're going to mandate your insurance does that for you. But where are they? And if this is going to be the case, could you not, like what I did see, so okay, 2 stories out of South Dakota earlier on. The one of the mother, which people are sending in text to 35270, the eye consultants from North Dakota. I'll get to those in a moment. But the other thing that did catch my attention is that South Dakota is going to be spending $1 million from I think that's their federal CARES Act dollars or federal funds. Anyway, that they're going to put to buying 1 million rapid at-home COVID-19 tests, using $7 million in federal funding to purchase 1 million of those that residents can pick up for free. Look, if this is the model that we need to be doing, then quite frankly, if South Dakota is going to be taking the lead, I congratulate them with their Department of Health doing that. This seems easier implemented than what the mandate federally is. If you have insurance companies, well-respected in this area, 2 of the big ones saying, we're still trying to work out the details here. We'll get back to more of this and your thoughts at 35270. You can call the Laney studio line at 237-5948. Afternoons Live. We're just getting started on a Wednesday afternoon. I'm Tyler Axenis. Don't go anywhere.
Robertson here with another Dine News Radio.
Hey, this is Abby Miller with the
Derek Hansen, Couch Potato Radio. Did you see
from
that?
It Takes Two.
Doug Miller with the morning crew this morning.
Jerkins News Radio.
Eiler with It Takes Two.
This is Jack Michaels, Voices Force.
Too tall.
Joel Heitkamp here on the Mighty
Sarah Heinrich.
Tyler Axis, your host.
The Mighty 790 and 104.7 FM KFGO. The names you know, the voices you trust.
So today on MSUM campus, we're doing an ice jam, which is we're combining a bunch of percussion instruments with ice instruments, which are also going to be used in a percussive form. We're going to hit them with mallets, hammers, all those types of things. Today is all improv, so we're all just kind of working with ideas that we just kind of think of as we go, and we kind of play off each other, and it's fun to collaborate but also have a sense of independence.
Well, we're doing a food giveaway event to the community. A lot of people are facing food insecurity at this time. As we can tell, we had to start about an hour early because we just had so many people lined up. So as people come up and they need whatever they need, volunteers are taking care of it. It's all contactless, so nobody has to get out. And just
a little bit. We'll get caught up with KFGO News. Then we're going to be visiting with Bill Werner down in the Twin Cities about their latest announcement within the last half hour. What the requirements are going to be if you want to dine in down there. We will get into the whole inflation debate as well. Or is it even a debate? I mean, the proof is there. The numbers are there that inflation over the last month, the worst has been, I think, in over 40 years. And you know it because you're buying the products. And, of course, the products that have seen the most increase are the ones you're putting on your dining room table. Eggs, milk, meat, all of that. So we'll get into that conversation. Have you noticed it when you go out and you go shopping, how much more expensive things are? And has it changed your habits at all? It's a conversation. But I want to tie a bow on something I started because this administration, now I get it, there's this variant that has become even more rapidly transmissible. And the desire to have people do certain mitigating things, including get vaccinated, it didn't go smoothly. And that is in large part why this pandemic does continue on. Not the only part, but certainly a large part of it. But the things that I think were well within the control, if you're going to go on campaign saying we're going to get you back to normal and we're going to get this pandemic over. The things that you could have done, the tools of which that were well within your control, in my opinion, that this administration has failed to achieve is getting those tests that we're talking about and mandating insurance companies now cover for you, at least cover up to 8 home COVID-19 tests per month for people in their homes. So if you're going to mandate that, you should have, at least in my opinion, over this time, because this doesn't just pop up out of thin air to do this, have the conversation about how it's supposed to roll out. So on a Wednesday, when we're trying to get some answers for you as listeners that might want to take advantage of this, and I know not all of you will, that you know what to expect and how to get reimbursed for these the cost of buying those at-home tests. They're not opposed to it from what I've gathered from the individuals I've talked to in these companies, but to not know how they're going to administer it because this was just seemingly up and out of nowhere is a failure, in my opinion. But also, when you're talking about the need of however many hundreds of millions of being produced, and you can't find them right now on shelves, again, where was this over the last year of saying, look, if we're not going to be able to get people to do A, B, or C, we at least better have the means for them to get tested and figure out whether or not they're carrying the damn thing, and we have not. So of all the things, when it comes to combating this pandemic, this ever-evolving situation, this lack of having these readily available, these affordable, and then to avoid the confusion that I'm gathering for those that are now being told they're going to be a large part of it, somebody's dropping the ball here to help ease at least just a little bit of that confusion on everybody that continues to seemingly grow each and every day we wake up, check out the news. And in fact, I'm curious, here's a question I want you to be honest with me. Well, I always want you to be honest, but on this one, how many of you have just simply stopped? Done with it. You're done consuming anything news related to this pandemic. You're getting off Twitter because of this. You're not going to national news. You're not checking out, your Department of Health to see what the stats are because you know what? You're done with it. You're learning to live with it. I think of all the things we've discussed, there's more people in that category right now after 2 years than in any other category. And I'm going to be honest with you, I don't fault you one bit. I really don't, because of exactly how I started the conversation of the fatigue of all of it going forward over this last time and the confusion. So you're just throwing hands up. 237-5948. That is the Laney studio line. You can text me at 35270 on the I Consultants of North Dakota text club as well. There are some areas, though, that are trying to do things late in the game here, and, of course, that's going to be Minneapolis, St. Paul. When we come back after the KFGO news update, of course, we got Rusty Halverson. We'll check out the latest agriculture. I know he was at that sunflower convention that was in town earlier today, so we'll see what he learned there. But down there in the Twin Cities, which many of you go down to on a regular basis, or at least you had been, some claiming you're not going anymore because of whether it's their measures or because of the crime that you'd been watching from afar, as you've told me. If you want to go dine in, want to go to your restaurant, they're going to have different requirements for you starting next week. He's going to tell me about that also, and about $40 million that's going to be going to nurses and trying to recruit and retain some of that staff here. So there's some movement on the Minnesota side of the audience. Tyler, I've been over it. Yeah. I was in Frisco with about, 18,000 people in one stadium. I think there was about 95% that are going to agree with you there. So I totally get it. And I have no doubt probably 90-some% of this audience feels the same way listening to me on KFGO, whether that's on 790 AM, 104.7 FM, or watching us worldwide at KFGO.com. And, of course, you can check us out on YouTube and watch us do radio. That and more coming up. Plus, I do want to get into the inflation. Paul Marquardt, state representative, retiring. We're going to be talking about beer also. We're spending a lot of time in Minnesota because Swing Barrel, you're going to check them out in Moorhead. But I want to talk about all those stouts, those porters, those nice rich beers to get you through these cold, dark winter months. That's coming up and so much more. I'm Tyler Axis. Stick around.
Culberson here with another Dine News Radio.
Hey, this is Abby Miller with the
Dear
Mighty
Kansas
790.
Couch Potato Radio. Did you see that? It Takes Two. Doug here with the morning crew this morning. Jerkins News Radio.
Amy Eiler with It Takes Two.
This is Jack Michaels, Voices Forces.
Too tall,
Joel Heitkamp here on the Mighty
Sarah Heinrich.
Tyler Axis, your host.
The Mighty 790 and 104.7 FM KFGO. The names you know, the voices you trust.
So today on MSUM campus, we're doing an ice jam, which is we're combining a bunch of percussion instruments with ice instruments, which are also going to be used in a percussive form. We're going to hit them with mallets, hammers, all those types of things. Today is all improv, so we're all just kind of working with ideas that we just kind of think of as we go, and we kind of play off each other, and it's fun to collaborate but also have a sense of independence.
Well, we're doing a food giveaway event to the community. A lot of people are facing food insecurity at this time. As we can tell, we had to start about an hour early because we just had so many people lined up. So as people come up and they need whatever they need, volunteers are taking care of it. It's all contactless, so nobody has to get out, and just making sure whatever the greatest need. We're just getting the greatest good. We're going until the food is out. As people are coming in, if they need 2 boxes and 2 gallons of milk, that's what we're giving. We don't want to leave anybody out.
I was in the hospital, and I saw a flyer on the wall.
We have 2:30. It's 32 degrees in Fargo-Moorhead. This is KFGO News. I'm Madison Quinn. Attorneys for a Moorhead man accused of killing 2 co-workers, including a pregnant woman at a Fargo manufacturing company in November, want a doctor to determine if he is fit for trial. Cass County District Judge Wade Webb has signed a commitment order so 35-year-old Anthony Reese Jr. can be evaluated at the North Dakota State Hospital. Reese is charged with 3 counts of murder for the shooting deaths of 43-year-old Richard Pittman and 32-year-old April Carbone and their unborn child. Reese was fired November 17th after getting into an argument with Pittman while fixing a piece of machinery. Reese left but returned a short time later with a gun, according to the criminal complaint. He got into another fight before allegedly shooting Pittman multiple times. Carbone, who was 8 months pregnant, was shot several times while running away. Reese turned himself in at the Fargo police station shortly after the shootings. Prominent defense attorney Alan Dershowitz has joined the legal team representing MyPillow founder and Minnesota resident Mike Lindell in a civil rights lawsuit against the Congressional Committee investigating the insurrection at the U.S. Capitol. The January 6th committee wants Verizon to turn over Lindell's cell phone records between November 1st of 2020 and January 31st of 2021. Dershowitz says Lindell has a right to see those records to determine whether any of them are confidential or protected by attorney-client privilege.
Congressional committees have to be reined in. It has to be made clear that under our separation of powers, our checks and balances, Congress has the right to subpoena information only if that information relates to its lawmaking or supervisory or other constitutionally authorized powers.
Mostly cloudy. We have 32 degrees in Fargo-Moorhead. This is KFGO News. .32 degrees in Fargo-Moorhead. You're listening to KFGO News. An African serval cat found injured in a Boston suburb last week will go to a wildcat sanctuary in Minnesota if an amputation proceeds as anticipated. The male cat, dubbed Bruno, will go to the wildcat sanctuary in Sandstone, Minnesota. The cat was found in a backyard in Lincoln, Massachusetts, with the back limb broken in 2 places. Human Society, MSPCA, says serval cats are not allowed to be owned in Massachusetts except for by zoos with a permit. It will undergo an operation to amputate its back leg before going on to the sanctuary in Minnesota. Serval is a wildcat native to Africa and is a solitary carnivore, both active day and night. Fargo Park District Board of Commissioners has announced the donor will match up to $1 million for Giving Hearts Day this year for the Fargo Park District's Fargo Sports Complex project. The sports complex will have indoor space for over 13,000 plus kids and 20 plus community organizations to use regularly. Fargo Parks is hoping the complex will attract over 600,000 visitors annually and host over 40 community events, and expects it to provide a multi-purpose space for Fargo residents and the surrounding communities. KFGO weather for the rest of this afternoon. We'll see highs in the low 30s, mostly cloudy. Tonight, low of 16, slight chance for light snow. Tomorrow, high of 24, mostly cloudy. Friday, cloudy and breezy, areas of snow, high of 20, low of 15. Saturday, high of 12, partly sunny, becoming breezy, and a low of 6 below. I'm Madison Quinn, KFGO News.
Fresh off that dusty trail of 13th Avenue from the Holiday Inn to the KFGO studios is Rusty Halverson.
Woo, it was a long drive in today.
The Sunflower, long drive. You've been all over the place.
Yeah.
So my question, because yesterday I got myself in trouble when I was having fun with the fact that of all these commodity groups that are going all over these warm climates, sunflowers pull the short straw. They're in Fargo, North Dakota.
And you're just joking around.
Yeah. Mostly.
Yeah.
But I'm curious, was there anybody there that was a speaker or that you visited with that, I'm from California or Texas?
Well, I spoke, and we're talking about the 44th Annual Research Forum for the National Sunflower Association. They are at the Fargo Holiday Inn, which is just a short drive and a pitch and a putt from where we're sitting right now. And most of the folks there are from North Dakota, a lot of folks from South Dakota too. I have like 5 pages of research notes here that they've got folks from Lubbock, Texas on the Texas A&M systems today talking about row plant spacing, phenotyping using UAV-based remote sensing, a big research conference.
Yeah, they were get the calculators out and all that. I wouldn't fit in very well there at all, man.
Well,
research. Nobody said there'd be math here. From Texas, Florida to North Dakota. Welcome.
Just a lot of information.
A
lot of information.
That when it comes to sunflowers, this last planting season, I remember saying, I think I've seen more sunflower fields than I've seen in a very, very long time. Still not a lot compared to soybeans or corn, though.
Yeah, I tell you what, we talked with John Sandbakken. He's the executive director of the National Sunflower Association, and he just had to bop over from Bismarck, Mandan. That's where their national offices are. But Sandbakken thinks the industry is poised for a successful year.
Our acres were reduced in 2021. We didn't quite have that level that we needed, and with the way product demand is growing for sunflower oil, for confection seeds and kernel, we can definitely add acres this year. And I know that the interest that I'm hearing from growers across the United States is that they're going to add sunflower acres because of the profitability of the crop. And with that smaller crop we had in 2021, our stocks are going to be really low come this fall, and we're going to need that seed in the pipeline. So just a great opportunity to look at sunflowers for this year.
And from what I understand, pricing opportunities looking for 2022, some attractive options out there.
Definitely we're one of the top returns this year, when you look at bottom line, what you're going to make as far as profits. So I think that's also, getting more interest in adding acres this year.
I think, Tyler, when you say you notice more sunflower acres.
Listening to John, I'd be wrong.
No, it's just that I think those acres shift around a little bit. And maybe you're seeing some of those acres in perhaps non-traditional areas where you have not seen them before. But as he said, an attractive pricing option this year, forward contracting, prices looking really good, just looking at kind of the national boards for cash bids from $31 to $34 per hundredweight. It's something that growers will probably look at this year.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised at all.
Yeah.
When you think about the price, the question would be what are the input costs, as always.
There you go.
Varying of all that.
And I think some of the conversations you've had with our friend Frayne Olson from NDSU, crops like sunflowers, crops like dry edible beans and whatnot, may be a more attractive pricing option to some growers this year.
Very good.
Yeah.
You come back next hour. I want to know more.
Yeah.
All right. Rusty Alverson. Him and Sarah Heinrich are the best in the biz. The awards speak for themselves. If you want to learn more, you can go to kfgo.com. Click on that agriculture tab. When we come back after the CBS News, Bill Werner, a friend of the show, is our capital correspondent down in the Twin Cities. They're changing what is required of you as a patron of one of those dining restaurants. He'll tell you about that next.
Well, we're doing a food giveaway event to the community. A lot of people are facing food insecurity at this time. As we can tell, we had to start about an hour early because we just had so many people lined up. So as people come up and they need whatever they need, volunteers are taking care of it. It's all contactless, so nobody has to get out. And just making sure whatever the greatest need. We're just getting the greatest good. When we're going until the food is out. As people are coming in, if they need 2 boxes and 2 gallons of milk, that's what we're giving. We don't want to leave anybody out.
I was in the hospital, and I saw a flyer on the wall. And all the nurses were talking about taking people down there to get food and stuff. I got out last night, the hospital last night, and I said, man, I'm going to do this. When I came from Williston here, I lived on these streets for 3 years, caring. And that's what this is. That's the way I see it. Very helpful. I think it's going to be very helpful because I know people that are doing without.
I think it's truly remarkable how much need there is out there. Like I said, we were going to start at noon, but we had so many people lined up. We started at 11, and volunteers have been working their tail off since then. I'm thankful for that. I think this shows that there is some huge needs in the community, and we got some things we got to address.
So today on MSUM campus, we're doing an ice jam, which is we're combining a bunch of percussion instruments with ice instruments, which are also going to be used in a percussive form. We're going to hit them with mallets, hammers, all those types of things. Today is all improv, so we're all just kind of working with ideas that we just kind of think of as we go, and we kind of play off each other, and it's fun to collaborate but also have a sense of independence.
Thanks for watching News and Views on YouTube. Don't forget to subscribe and like our page, and send us a text anytime at 35270.
Hey, this is Abby Miller with the
Derek
Mighty
Hansen,
790.
Couch Potato Radio. Did you see that? It Takes Two. Doug Miller with the morning crew this morning. Jerkins News Radio.
Katie Eiler with It Takes Two.
This is Jack Michaels, Voices Forces.
Too tall, Tom.
Joel Heitkamp here on the Mighty
Sarah Heinrich.
Tyler Axis, your host.
The Mighty 790 and 104.7 FM KFGO. The names you know, the voices you trust.
Maybe 10 minutes before I came into the KFGO studio, I did a quick glance at some of the latest news on Twitter, and one of them being that Minneapolis and St. Paul are going to be requiring either a proof of vaccine or a negative COVID test for at least 72 hours before for customers at all businesses where people are eating and drinking. And guess what, folks? It starts next week. Caught my attention. I wanted to know more about the details, and to figure that out, we visit with our friend and Capitol correspondent Bill Werner. Bill, I hope you had a great New Year, man. How you doing?
Hey, yeah, we sure did, and you guys, I hope so too. Maybe it's a little bit warmer now, anyway, than it was.
Yeah, no, it's noticeable when you're saying, hey, you know what, it's not too bad. It's like 20 degrees or 32 degrees I'm getting from my producer right now. So we're right at that freezing mark, and it feels
nice,
good. It's unusual, except for that dang wind that catches us every now and then. You know, speaking of winds, it seems like we're heading into the headwind of this next wave. This
I
Omicron.
shouldn't laugh. That's for sure.
It's exhausting. It's what what you know now is going to change by tomorrow, it seems, and people are quite frankly tired of it, and I get that. But there's a lot of people in this listening area that head down to the Twin Cities, whether it's for a concert, a venue. There's no longer Vikings games, and I wonder if this timing of this played into that. Yeah, but that is unfortunate for a lot of people.
Yeah.
Explain this to me. Do you have, if you're going to go to a place that has food and beverages, Minneapolis and St. Paul saying you got to have proof of vaccine or a negative test?
That's right, yeah, or other entertainment venues. 72 hours in advance, cannot be a home test. They don't count. They have to be medically supervised. So that's something that folks need to be aware of, logistically getting ready for that. Boosters are not included in this. You don't have to show proof of a booster, but you have to show proof of full vaccination. So bring the card or the other proof that you have with you. This starts the 19th of January. Let's see, this is the 12th, so that's a week from today, right?
Next Wednesday.
Yeah, but for ticketed events, like Timberwolves games, Minnesota Wild games, some of the folks, might be coming in for those. That policy takes effect on January 26th. So I think they're giving folks a little extra time just because, if you have tickets purchased, want to be sure to get that taken care of. Now, St. Paul's mandate is just slightly different. It applies only to businesses that are licensed by the city. So that's, in which those would be, that's going to cover bars and restaurants, obviously, and a lot of venues, but that's something to be aware of in St. Paul. That's a little different across the river.
And here I thought they came up together to say, hey, here's a uniform policy regardless of what side of the river you're on, and that's not the case. Okay.
Yeah, pretty close.
Yeah.
But, both cities have mask mandates also that they imposed last week for public places, indoor venues as well. So that's they've put a number of regulations in place with the Omicron variant surging in a lot of areas, and the hospitals full and some cases overfull. So folks are nervous.
Here's what I noticed this go-around, Bill. It's not coming from Governor Walz. It's not coming from the state saying, I don't care if you're in Moorhead or Dilworth, you're going to abide by what we're going to be doing in Minneapolis, St. Paul. That says a lot at this time of year with this variant going on of maybe and I think justified or at least reasonable frustration from people on this side of the state saying, look, you know what, I'm in Detroit Lakes, and what's going on here is completely different than
different animal.
Yeah. So the local side of this, as far as it being the mayors and just those jurisdictions, I can understand that, and I think this is at least a much better way of doing it than, say, the entire state of Minnesota.
Yeah, and what you say, Tyler, in terms of the governor imposing statewide mandates at this point, politically that's a real tough thing to do. Correct. In the fact that we're into an election cycle, big time. And I suspect, and I'm not certainly don't want to presume to read the governor's mind, but I suspect that he's trying to avoid that if at all possible. And he's made some announcement today, which folks may be aware of as well. He's asking for $40 million of American Rescue money. A special legislative commission needs to actually sign off on it, and they probably will, so that Minnesota can bring in about 300 nurses. They'll be working with a national staffing firm, bring them in for 60 days, working 60 hours a week at designated hospitals that are hard-pressed by the Omicron surge. And the Walz administration today indicated, Health Commissioner Jan Malcolm says the resources are going to go to the most hard-pressed hospitals, and she acknowledged that patients might have to go other places, which has been happening some already. So that's another major thing that's going on, and it's a result of just the crunch of hospital beds. It's partially a matter of the number of beds available, but it's more just the fact that there isn't enough staff, and the staff are
Well,
I mean, they're just fried to a crisp by this. I mean, they've had, a couple of years of this. It's just brutal pace.
Yeah, Bill, I started the show talking about how exhausted we all are with it. And quite frankly,
Yeah.
I think some people are just done with it. In fact, I know it just by the text I'm getting. And Tyler, I got my vaccine, I got my booster. I turn off the news when it's talking about COVID. I don't wear a mask anymore. I do social distance, but I'm just over it. That being, I'm over it, I think, and that's one of many of the similar sentiment here. To where, for us to think that, but then you put yourself in the position of a doctor or a nurse that has literally been on the front lines of this. I'm curious to get 300 nurses, these traveling nurses, are they even available? Because, these...
That was the question that came up, okay? And a matter of fact, let me play a cut from the governor on that, okay?
Yeah.
Because it's really, I think it's telling. And what he's talking about is the issue that they're going to go to a national firm, right, that has nurses available, and the health commissioner says that a large number of them that are under contract to this firm already have Minnesota licenses, so you don't have a conflict there. But then it's a question of the competition for other states, and the governor acknowledged today that there is competition earlier in the process for the federal medical teams that came in, right, the Department of Defense teams. And he says, now for this. Here's what the governor said.
We've been one step ahead of a lot of states. I got numerous calls from governors, first asking how we got those teams from DOD, and then asking, why are you keeping them longer because we need them now type of thing. The same thing is true of what we're doing with this.
So I think you can read there, Tyler, in the governor's comments that Minnesota is wrangling with other states for this, and it sounds, based on what he says, like Minnesota got in kind of at the front of the line. Maybe their folks presumably were looking at this as an option earlier than some other states, and so therefore it sounds like they're thinking that they're going to get dibs on these nurses, maybe and bring them here first, and not. I mean, obviously states like California, they got a lot of weight, and do you grab nurses from and send them here rather than California as an example? Well, we'll see.
Well, and I think the other variable, if I understand the situation right, you need to have the legislative approval for the money to even hire them and pay for them.
That's right. And that's the Legislative Commission on the COVID response, a response to COVID. LCRC is what it's called. They met today, and they have until Saturday to make a decision. The vote, I think, actually occurs remotely by email. And the indication is that they're probably going to sign off on it. At least to this point, the response has been pretty nonpartisan, even though it is a group that is divided, that has Democrats and Republicans on it, evenly split. So we'll see what happens. I have to figure that the governor, if he was going to make this announcement, he probably was making sure his ducks were in a row in terms of votes with that commission. Of course, you never know. Funky things can happen.
Politics, man. You know full well you're covering it as. So just quickly before I let you go, Bill, back to this Minneapolis, St. Paul, this requirement of either proof of vaccine or negative tests over the last 3 days.
Right.
They claim this is going to be temporary. Did they say when they would revisit the decision? Like, hey, we're going to do this for 2 weeks and then we'll come back and revisit, or is it for the foreseeable temporary in air quotes?
Exactly. I'll be honest with you. There was, I don't know if that information is immediately available. We're going to have to probably take a look on that and see. But yeah, at least I think for the foreseeable future is reasonable. Now, I have to believe that given the political climate, that they'll try to back that off as quickly as possible. But it just kind of depends. The governor's people, the Department of Health, saying, and the governor himself is saying that the indications are that we're coming up to the peak on the Omicron, and that information from other countries indicates that this is probably going to peak and then drop off. So he's kind of hoping that happens in Minnesota here too, and then presumably that would affect whatever decisions are made in Minneapolis and St. Paul and some other municipalities potentially.
Yeah, well, I know that we're all ready for it to subside and just quite frankly go away. But Bill, I know that's not within our control. But I appreciate. Oh, go ahead. Final word goes to you, my man.
No, I'm just saying, that's out of our control, and everybody has to decide what they want to do, obviously, to do their part. Different people have different opinions on that, but I know that Minnesotans and North Dakotans are going to consider those options, seriously and judge accordingly. So. There we go.
Bill, I always appreciate your time, my friend. You take care. We'll chat again soon, all right?
Good. Okay, Tyler. Yep, you too.
Thanks. Bill Warner, Capital correspondent down in St. Paul. There you have it. Messages coming in at 35270. I'll get to those. That is the Eye Consultants of North Dakota Text Club. But first, this weather update from Too Tall Tom Szymanski, and we'll wrap up the first hour next.
Thanks for watching News and Views on YouTube. Don't forget to subscribe and like our page. And send us a text anytime at 35270.
Well, we're doing a food giveaway event to the community. A lot of people are facing food insecurity at this time. As we can tell, we had to start about an hour early because we just had so many people lined up. So as people come up and they need whatever they need, volunteers are taking care of it. It's all contactless, so nobody has to get out. Right. And just making sure whatever the greatest need. We're just getting the greatest good. When we're going until the food is out. As people are coming in, if they need 2 boxes and 2 gallons of milk, that's what we're giving. We don't want to leave anybody out.
I was in the hospital, and I saw a flyer on the wall. And all the nurses were talking about taking people down there to get food and stuff. I got out last night. Got out of the hospital last night, and I said, man, I'm going to do this. When I came from Williston here, I lived on these streets for 3 years, caring. And that's what this is. That's the way I see it. Very helpful. I think it's going to be very helpful because I know people that are doing without.
I think it's truly remarkable how much need there is out there. Like I said, we were going to start at noon, but we had so many people lined up. We started at 11, and volunteers have been working their tail off since then. I'm thankful for that. I think this shows that there is some huge needs in the community, and we got some things we got to address.
Roberson here with another Dine News Radio.
Hey, this is Abby Miller with the
Dear
Mighty
Kansas
790.
Couch Potato Radio. Did you see that
from It Takes Two.
Doug here with the morning crew this morning.
News Radio.
Bailey Eiler with It Takes Two.
This is Jack Michaels, Voices Force.
Too Tall Tom
Joel Heitkamp here on the Mighty
Sarah Heinrich.
Tyler Axis, your host.
The Mighty 790 and 104.7 FM KFGO. The names you know, the voices you trust.
So today on MSUM campus, we're doing an ice jam, which is we're combining.
I'm going to get a couple of the messages that stand out to me, out to you, on the Eye Consultants of North Dakota Text Club. You want to join that? It's 35270. Laney studio line open as well, 237-5948. Tyler, so the mayor's only wanted to spread amongst the vaccinated? Question mark, Canada, almost 80% vaccinated, spreading like crazy there. Well, and the other variable of, at least in the cities, is you don't have to be vaccinated. You have to just prove a negative test. And it's not that home test either that you just heard from Bill. You cannot go and get your insurance to cover your at-home test. You got to do this. If you can wait in the long lines that have been forming in some of these areas to go in front of a healthcare professional and get swabbed, they're still shoving it as far up your nose as they can, down the throat, that whole situation. So the other thing that Tyler Mayo just dumped 700 unvaccinated employees. Might be a great place to find staffing. Interesting addition, because now with this Omicron that quite frankly has changed a lot of things for a lot of people, is you have healthcare facilities now saying you can be COVID positive, and we'll still allow you to come to work because we're so short-staffed. Does that make these facilities then start to question those employees that you just talked about? I don't know. I think it's an interesting concept. Do you feel comfortable with it? For those of you listening, 35270. We'll continue the conversation there. But I also want to talk about the fact that inflation, 7% in December. And without food and energy, it's only 5.5%, but 7% when you include both those. Have you noticed when you've been purchasing goods? That and more coming up. Second hour of Afternoons Live right here on KFGO.
Well, we're doing a food giveaway event to the community. A lot of people are facing food insecurity at this time. As we can tell, we had to start about an hour early because we just had so many people lined up. So as people come up and they need whatever they need, volunteers are taking care of it. It's all contactless, so nobody has to get out, and just making sure whatever the greatest need. We're just getting the greatest good. When we're going until the food is out. As people are coming in, if they need 2 boxes and 2 gallons of milk, that's what we're giving. We don't want to leave anybody out.
I was in the hospital, and I saw a flyer on the wall. And all the nurses were talking about taking people down there to get food and stuff. I got out last night. Got out of the hospital last night, and I said, man, I'm going to do this. When I came from Williston here, I lived on these streets for 3 years, caring. And that's what this is. That's the way I see it. Very helpful. I think it's going to be very helpful because I know people that are doing without.
I think it's truly remarkable how much need there is out there. Like I said, we were going to start at noon, but we had so many people lined up. We started at 11, and volunteers have been working their tail off since then. I'm thankful for that. I think this shows that there is some huge needs in the community, and we got some things we got to address.
Here with another Dine News Radio.
Hey, this is Abby Miller with the
Derek Hansen, Couch Potato Radio. Did you see that? It Takes Two. Tubular with the morning crew this morning. Jerkins News Radio.
Eiler with It Takes Two.
This is Jack Michaels, Voices Force.
Too tall,
Joel Heitkamp here on the Mighty
Sarah Heinrich.
Tyler Axis, your host.
The Mighty 790 and 104.7 FM KFGO. The names you know, the voices you trust.
So today on MSUM campus, we're doing an ice jam, which is we're combining a bunch of percussion instruments with ice instruments, which are also going to be used in a percussive form. We're going to hit them with mallets, hammers, all those types of things. Today is all improv, so we're all just kind of working with ideas that we just kind of think of as we go, and we kind of play off each other, and it's fun to collaborate but also have a sense of independence.
Thanks for watching News and Views on YouTube. Don't forget to subscribe and like our page, and send us a text anytime at 35270.
Hey, it's 3 o'clock. Here's what's happening on this day. If you can't tell, 56 years ago today, Batman TV series premiered on ABC, 1966. Adam West, of course, as you know, was Batman. But you know what was the real hero in this whole cast of characters? The fact that the guy that played the Joker, what is it, Cesar Romero?
Yeah, that sounds right.
Never allowed his mustache to be shaved. So if you watch the paint that they did, they just painted over his mustache. Because look, baby. This mustache, this is me. I'm not ditching the stash to go play the Joker.
I don't care what the Joker does. I'm not losing the stash.
Okay, Caesar, you're keeping the stash. We'll just throw a little bit more red paint. I think it was red, or was it? I think he had the red paint at that point.
I think you're right.
All right, so that happened. Did you ever watch the movie? Because the thing that stands out about the Batman movie at that time was when Adam West as Batman, in which the leotard suit, and he's running down a pier, like on a dock, and he's carrying a big bomb that is smoking that he had to throw. So I remember that, and I do believe, I don't remember what helicopter, if it was maybe the Batcopter.
Probably the Batcopter.
He's hanging from the rope that hangs down, and I think there was a shark that clamped on his leg, and he's turning around and punching the shark.
That sounds
to get
right.
it off his leg.
I have an image of that in my head, and I don't know if it's a parody or the actual
I'm
one.
pretty sure that was Batman in the 60s there, buddy. Either way, there's one. And the other one we'll save for a little bit later on, because I got to get you caught up with KFGO News. Paul Juergens, take it away.
KFGO News, mostly cloudy and 31. A judge has approved a request from attorneys for a Moorhead man accused of killing 2 co-workers, including a pregnant woman at a Fargo manufacturing company back in November. Cass County District Judge Wade Webb has signed a commitment order. 35-year-old Anthony Reese Jr. will be evaluated at the state hospital. Reese is charged with 3 counts of murder for the shooting deaths of 43-year-old Richard Pittman, 32-year-old April Carbone, and their unborn child. Human remains found buried in Isanti County, north of the Twin Cities in 2003, have been identified as a 22-year-old man, missing since 1970. Investigators have long believed Donald Rindahl was a homicide victim, but his death has been classified as undetermined. The skeletal remains were discovered near Cambridge during an excavation project. Investigators have used DNA over the years to make identification, but were not successful until turning to a Texas lab last year that uses newer technology. It was able to develop a match with a relative, which led to Rindahl's identification. Governor Walz wants to use $40 million in federal money for emergency staff support at hospitals ahead of an anticipated rise in Omicron cases that is already straining hospital capacity. Walz announced his request to pay for the hiring of nurses to work 60 hours a week for 60 days in hospitals experiencing shortages due to the virus. The request follows another $40 million Walz wants to put toward expanding testing. Both requests come out of $500 million in American Rescue Plan state money for immediate COVID-19 response. Longtime State Representative Paul Marquardt will not seek re-election this year. The Democrat from Dilworth represents District 4B. He serves portions of Clay Becker and Norman counties. He's been in the legislature for more than 20 years.
You know, some surprise, certainly, and a lot of well wishes. And, you know, you've worked with colleagues for 22 years in some cases, just like a regular workplace, that you get to know them, and it's difficult. But, you know, in the end, you know, it just, especially with constituents, you know, what I enjoyed the most as a legislator was going door to door. And what I was proud about is that I got to know the constituents.
The 65-year-old Marquardt says he will go out on good terms and is looking forward to having more time with family. He calls his position in serving in St. Paul an honor and privilege. He does plan to continue teaching for the year at DGF High School in Dilworth. And from KFGO Sports, a COVID-19 outbreak on the UND men's hockey team has forced the postponement of games with Omaha this weekend. That series was set for Friday and Saturday at Ralph Engelstad Arena. A makeup date has not been determined. Fargo-Moorhead low 30s this afternoon. Winter storm watch going into effect tomorrow evening into Friday evening, issued by the Weather Service a short time ago. Mostly cloudy tonight, slight chance of light snow and or mixed precipitation. That before midnight, most likely 16. Tomorrow, mostly cloudy, high of 24. Friday, cloudy, breezy areas of snow, and 20. Fargo-Moorhead, mostly cloudy. Again, it's 31. Paul Juergens, News Radio, KFGO.
Getting corrected in the text club. Tyler, Batman's utility belt had a bat shark repellent. He didn't hit it. Okay. I'm not wrong in envisioning as a young boy watching this on some syndicated, maybe USA Network, maybe it was even being played on ABC. I don't recall. Probably WGN back in Leeds, that there was a shark that clamped onto his leg as he was hanging and dangling from a helicopter on one of those rope ladders. So that I remember the bomb carrying scene though vividly, because it seemed as though they just kept replaying the same clip over and over after they went somewhere else. Remind me though, because the one thing that aside from like the comic book, pow bam when they were fighting, which is great, fantastic. Though to get to the Batcave, did they had to pull a statue's head back and push the button that extended the bookshelf and then that exposed the pipe in which you just slide down? I think that's what they had to do to get out, or was that to call the chief? I don't remember.
I remember the fire pole to get down to the
fire pole. That's the word that escaped me right there. I tell you now, because people are correcting me about my memory from a show that started in 1966, being boring in 1986. My memory's not quite there. I had no idea that Bruce Lee had an appearance as Kato, as one of those. But going through the cast and just looking at the number, I had just assumed, and maybe it was because of just the little bit of memory. I remember Catwoman, I remember the Joker, Penguin, and the Riddler. But I mean, they had so many other villains on here. I don't remember seeing Mr. Freeze at all. Mad Hatter, and of course they have the Sandman. I don't remember all of these make an appearance. I should have looked up how long this the series, the actual TV series, not the movie, actually was on, whether it was ABC or whatever network it was. Because if they had all these, I'm going to have to go back and rewatch it. 35270. Thanks for correcting me on the iConsultant of North Dakota Text Club. You can also join the conversation at 237-594, the Laney studio line. I want to talk about another benchmark that's not ideal for anybody. When you look at the fact that inflation here in last December, 7%. And the biggest factor from what I'm gathering is, of course, the things that you're putting on your table and the means to get it there. You have energy and you have the food situation. And when you have that sticker shock, what you've seen it, I mean, you're probably noticing it on your bank statements or when you go to the grocery store. Gas prices have dipped as best I could tell. I mean, I just drove literally across the entire country from North Dakota down to Texas, as many as you did, and it was below $3 if I recall the entire drive down. Well, that's not something to be like, hey, we're celebrating here, but gas prices have been down, and I don't think it took very long after some of the administration measures to have that impact. But we're talking about the fact that you could go get a new job, you can make more money by making a move, or if you got a hiring bonus, you might be taking more home. But guess what? It's not necessarily going into the savings account. I mean, when everything's costing a little bit more. Now, here's the thing, and we reached out and we didn't get a chance to connect today, but one of our go-to economists here is up at UND, David Flynn, a professor up there, and hopefully we can connect with him maybe tomorrow, because this certainly isn't going to just disappear overnight, but you've got what economists were saying for at least on the early stages, and maybe it's still the case, but I'll be curious if he agrees from the previous statements of this being a transition. This is just the inflation is just a transitory moment in time, and things will start coming down. That pound of beef going to start coming down, that gallon of milk, all that. You get my drift of what I'm getting here. And I think many of us wanted to see that happen more quickly. But I'm curious if that's still what people are considering this being, or if this is, still a trend that's going in the wrong direction here. But the driving factors, I'm curious, because you've got what we thought were going to be the supply chain, boy, that was going to clear up. We're going to have the ports running 24/7. you were going to have product being moved unless, we don't have enough truck drivers. Well, guess what? We don't have enough truck drivers still. After all this time of begging and pleading for people to get in the industry, that still has not necessarily turned around. But also the whole port and the supply chain situation hasn't either. And it's not just that, because you have, as we started off the show, talking about the fact that this another wave has hit us. And as exhausted and as tiresome as we are, different areas are handling it differently, and China being one of them. They're closing down factories, they're closing down shipping routines, to where all of that, you thought the ease was coming when it comes to getting to the store, seeing the shelves were stocked full, and that you're going to be able to pay what you were before. That's not the case. All this time you have extended backlogs, you have the lockdown of factories, shipping companies are struggling to work through all of this, and that's forecasters are saying that the price gains, they might weaken at some point, so that might still be a transition for us, that we're just going to have to pull ourselves up by the bootstraps, and we'll get there. But quite frankly, it's going to be what they're saying now, likely to end later this year, like at the end of this year, and it might just get back to the near 2% level instead of the 7% level. But not ideal for, say, the administration, or if you're running for re-election, especially on the Democratic side or the same party. If you're a Democrat right now on any level and you're seeing this news, because guess what? You can talk about January 6th, and I think it's appropriate because of what happened that day and how some people are just scoffing at it and lying about it. It's appropriate to talk about, but it's not on the minds of people that are voting. It's just not. You get a group of 15 people in a room, bring coffee in, we'll bring donuts. You say, all right, well, what's going to be your determining factor in who you vote for? What's the number one issue for you? I don't care if it's a mom, dad, a college student, or somebody just on their own, just trying to get by working a minimum wage job. And it comes down to being able to afford things, to being able to take your paycheck from wherever it is, deposit it in the bank, turn around and buy and live the lifestyle you want. And if this continues at the rate it is, people are going to blame the administration for not getting a handle on a variety of things. One, the pandemic, and two, what that's done to the economy on top of other things. So if you're in the White House right now, if you're Joe Biden or if you're Kamala Harris and you're looking at this, you're saying, well, here's the deal. Here's the problem, folks. It's because you got these big groups, the corporations, are just trying to price gouge. Their profits are making hand over fist over there. They're then making you pay for it. You're not buying it. And people aren't going to be buying that argument. They're not going to be looking at the person that employs them saying, well, this has got to be them, right? Making too much money on the profit side. It's going to come down to another variety of things, and rightfully so or not, it's going to be pinned on Joe Biden. It's going to be pinned on Kamala Harris, and it's going to be pinned on the fact that Democrats have the House and the Senate. Do you blame them? Let me know. The IE Consultants of North Dakota text club is 35270. You can call in to the Laney studio line at 237-594. You're seeing the sticker shock. You're seeing it when you go to the checkout line. Are you blaming the people in charge in Washington for it, or are you blaming other factors? I want to hear from you right after this. At the bottom of the hour, we're going to be visiting with one of those individuals that's saying, you know what, I'm going to go ahead and spend more time with my family, rightfully so. Paul Marquardt, now she's retiring. We're going to visit with him. But first, we're continuing this conversation. I'm Tyler Axis. Don't go anywhere.
Roberson here with another Dine News Radio.
Hey, this is Abby Miller with the
Dear
Mighty
Kansas
790.
Couch Potato Radio. Did you see that?
From It Takes Two.
Doug here with the morning crew this morning.
News Radio.
Bailey Eiler with It Takes Two.
This is Jack Michaels, Voices Force.
Too tall.
Joel Heitkamp here on the Mighty
Sarah Heinrich.
Tyler Axis, your host.
The Mighty 790 and 104.7 FM KFGO. The names you know, the voices you trust.
So today on the MSUM campus, we're doing an ice jam, which is we're combining a bunch of percussion instruments with ice instruments, which are also going to be used in a percussive form. We're going to hit them with mallets, hammers, all those types of things. today is all improv, so we're all just kind of working with ideas that we just kind of think of as we go, and we kind of play off each other, and it's fun to collaborate, but also have a sense of independence.
Thanks for watching News and Views on YouTube. Don't forget to subscribe and like our page, and send us a text anytime at 35270.
Well, we're doing a food giveaway event to the community. A lot of people are facing food insecurity at this time. As we can tell, we had to start about an hour early because we just had so many people lined up. So as people come up and they need whatever they need, volunteers are taking care of it. It's all contactless, so nobody has to get out, and just making sure whatever the greatest need. We're just getting the greatest good. We're going until the food is out. As people are coming in, if they need 2 boxes and 2 gallons of milk, that's what we're giving. We don't want to leave anybody out.
I was in the hospital, and I saw a flyer on the wall. And all the nurses were talking about taking people down there to get food and stuff. I got out last night. Got out of the hospital last night, and I said, man, I'm going to do this. When I came from Williston here, I lived on these streets for 3 years, caring. And that's what this is. That's the way I see it. Very helpful. I think it's going to be very helpful because I know people that are doing without.
I think it's truly remarkable how much need there is out there. Like I said, we were going to start at noon, but we had so many people lined up. We started at 11, and volunteers.
I do have to admire at least one of our text club members, a friend of the show's, knowledge of that Batman movie from the 60s. As I was talking about the bomb scene, he's running around with that big black round bomb over his head, trying to find a way to get rid of it. Tyler, when they were trying to get rid of a bomb, there was a couple kissing in a boat. There was baby ducklings, and Adam West, Batman, can't get rid of a bomb. He says, I remember. Thank you for that. I really did. Adam West get the appreciation he deserved as playing Batman? Because when you ask people who was the best Batman, I mean, people, for me, it's Christian Bale as of now, just because that series phenomenal.
I think he typically gets rated above Val Kilmer, George Clooney, and Ben Affleck.
Yeah. And,
so you've got Bale and Keaton at the top. I mean,
and then Adam West.
That
seems fair. I think that's a ranking I can get behind. Get Adam West, the original, at number 3.
Yep.
Okay. Yeah, but Christian Bale, number 1. Michael Keaton, 2. Adam West, and then everybody else, a very, very far distant.
I'm curious. I think the previews for this new one coming out in March with Robert Pattinson look like it's going to be up there in the contenders.
The Twilight dude. Was it Val Kilmer or George Clooney that had the bat suit that had unnecessary man nipples on it? Because that was why do you need to have that apparatus on the bat suit?
Clooney.
It was Clooney? I should have known it'd be Clooney. You think he demanded it? George Clooney? I bet you had to say this.
No, because I think he's commented on it in podcasts about how ridiculous it was. And how ridiculous. Because he advised Ben Affleck not to be Batman based on his experience of being Batman.
Well, he should have heeded Clooney's warnings. I'm going to get to the phone lines to talk to Rick. Rick, thanks for calling in. How are you on this Wednesday?
Hey, doing good, Tyler.
Thanks, man. What's going on?
Hey, well, you just got back from Frisco, right?
I did.
You saw one heck of a football game. You saw one team kind of dominate another one.
You bet.
They've been doing that for a long time. Mm-hmm. I'm going to correlate this kind of into this economy thing. Tyler, nothing's going to happen unless one thing happens, so that is these two parties start working together. It's blame game, blame game, blame game. I'm sick and tired of it. It's blame this one, blame that one, and they don't work together. Yeah. The reason that program that's up there at NDSU is successful is because those young student athletes work together. Yeah. That's why they're successful. Well, and I'll guarantee you, when they get down the line of scrimmage before that center hikes the football, I'll bet he doesn't look to his right or left and ask them if you're a Democrat or Republican.
No, Rick, I don't have any argument with you.
They're a team. That's the only way this country's ever going to get out of this mess again is to quit blaming each other and start working together. Yeah. It'll never happen until they do.
Yeah. Preach, brother. I appreciate it, Rick. You take care. I mean, how do you argue with that? I mean, you can't. The thing is, I'm afraid to say, I think we're a long, long ways from getting there. I mean, we are. The people that are willing to do exactly what Rick is saying, look, it doesn't matter what quote party you're from, and we often do treat American politics as though it is a sport. It's our team versus that team. But the people that wanted the job, that did the job, that were willing to work with that other team, using air quotes for radio, they're quitting. They're retiring. They're saying, look, the way of which things have gotten so ridiculous. And I think more so probably, no, and I can't say this. I've watched from afar in St. Paul and seen some of the gubernatorial candidates, the same thing. When they can't admit who won fair elections. I mean, the people, the good public servants, not all of them are walking away. A lot of them are, though. And they're going to be, that void will be filled with people that, quite frankly, I think have the opposite approach of what Rick just talked about. And I mean, to where it's, we just want to prevent them from doing this, or, to where it's not, what's the benchmark we need that state to be in? What's the benchmark we need this economy to be in? And how can we, albeit debate, no, not all debates are to where you're at each other's, pulling hair. But all right, we might disagree on the policy here. We don't even talk about that anymore. We talk about, who said what at some event instead of, who's going to be, all right, we're going to build that bridge over here because guess what? It's deteriorating. So, we'll concede this. Meanwhile, over there, that facility, that nursing home, you need some more Medicaid dollars. Okay, that's going to be the cross. We don't even really get there much anymore. I love the sentiment, Rick. I really do. I love the preach that you just gave me. And I don't mean that condescending. I was kind of sit up and sit straight here and take a moment. I'm not confident. I'm not confident that time is coming back anytime soon. More messages coming in. I will get to those. But first, we got to get you caught up with KFGO News. We'll check back in with Rusty Halverson. We're going to visit with one of those lawmakers that, quite frankly, for a long time, did want to do what was best for his district. Representative Paul Marquardt joins us next right here on KFGO.
So today on MSUM campus, we're doing an ice jam, which is we're combining a bunch of percussion instruments with ice instruments, which are also going to be used in a percussive form. We're going to hit them with mallets, hammers, all those types of things. Today is all improv, so we're all just kind of working with ideas that we just kind of think of as we go, and we kind of play off each other, and it's fun to collaborate but also have a sense of independence.
Well, we're doing a food giveaway event to the community. A lot of people are facing food insecurity at this time. As we can tell, we had to start about an hour early because we just had so many people lined up. So as people come up and they need whatever they need, volunteers are taking care of it. It's all contactless, so nobody has to get out. Right. And just making sure whatever the greatest need. We're just giving the greatest good. We're going until the food is out. As people are coming in, if they need 2 boxes and 2 gallons of milk, that's what we're giving. We don't want to leave anybody out.
I was in the hospital, and I saw a flyer on the wall. And all the nurses were talking about taking people down there to get food and stuff. I got out last night. The hospital last night, and I said, man, I'm going to do this. When I came from Williston here, I lived on these streets for 3 years, caring. And that's what this is. That's the way I see it. Very helpful. I think it's going to be very helpful because I know people that are doing without.
I think it's truly remarkable how much need there is out there.
KFGO News, mostly cloudy, 31. I'm Paul Jurgens. We have a winter storm watch from tomorrow evening right on through Friday evening, issued by the National Weather Service. 16, Fargo-Moorhead, our overnight low, mostly cloudy with a chance of a little light snow. A tow truck driver was taken to a Fargo hospital with serious injuries following a head-on collision on I-29 about 7 miles south of Fargo today. The State Patrol says the wrecker driven by 31-year-old Damian Bargloff of West Fargo was hit by a pickup. The pickup driver lost control on the ice frost-covered highway and crossed the median, striking Bargloff's tow truck. The pickup driver suffered minor injuries. The collision happened shortly after 10 this morning. The North Dakota Department of Transportation and the State Patrol say they have reopened I-29 now, I-29 North. That is south of Reynolds near mile marker 121. Earlier in the day, there was a semi that was pulling a corrosive liquid that caught fire. The trailer caught fire, and there was a detour in place. I-29 North was previously closed from exit 118 to 123 due to that incident. It looks like at this point one lane is remaining closed, but traffic is moving through. While cleanup continues, no injuries reported, and it does not appear that any citations will be issued. A judge has ordered a mental evaluation for a Moorhead man charged in a November workplace shooting in Fargo. 35-year-old Anthony Reese is charged in the murders of 43-year-old Richard Pittman, his girlfriend, 32-year-old April Carbone, and their unborn child. Prosecutors say Pittman and Carbone were shot at the North Fargo plastic manufacturing plant where all three worked. It followed an argument between Reese and Pittman. Carbone was 8 months pregnant. Reese drove to the nearby police station and turned himself in. He will be evaluated at the state hospital to determine whether he is competent to assist with his own defense. Skeletal remains found burned in Isanti County, north of the Twin Cities in 2003, have been identified as a 22-year-old man missing since 1970. The Isanti County Sheriff's Office long believed that Donald Rindall was murdered, but his death had been classified as undetermined. Chief Deputy Lisa Lovering says Rindall's family was shocked when it was told that the remains belonged to him.
You know, it was a random phone call that someone was calling about their brother that they hadn't seen in 51 years. So there was a lot of shock and disbelief at first. And I think once I got the DNA match, it set in a little more, but there's a lot of unanswered questions for them.
The skeletal remains were discovered in August 2003 near Cambridge during an excavation project. Investigators have used DNA from the remains over the years to make identification, but were not successful until turning to a Texas lab last year that uses newer technology. There was a match with a relative. No one has been arrested in the death. 31, this is KFGO News. This is KFGO News. Governor Walz says $40 million will be spent to increase emergency staff support at Minnesota hospitals overrun by the pandemic.
Walz says the funding will go toward hiring up to 350 healthcare professionals to work 60-hour weeks for the next 60 days.
And that will be able to use that pool as we've been using the federal government's pool that came in from DOD and others, and the way we've been using National Guard CNAs in long-term care facilities. It will not alleviate the problem, but it should be somewhat of a decompression.
Walz says those healthcare workers will come from a national staffing firm used successfully by many states throughout the country.
Reporter Laura Oakes. The annual Lake Ashtabula Ice Fishing Derby set for Saturday near Sibley, North Dakota, has been canceled, according to a co-event coordinator. That event is sponsored by the Barnes County Wildlife Federation. They decided to cancel the event, though, due to excessive snow, causing slush and poor ice conditions. A South Dakota man is facing a felony drug charge after his mother unknowingly served his marijuana-laced brownies to a group of senior citizens at a community center in the town of Tabor. An investigation began after dispatchers in the southeastern part of the state received several calls about possible poisonings. The seniors had been at a community card game. The investigation led to the woman who brought the brownies. She said her son had baked them. She turned over the remainder of the brownies she had at her house. Winter Storm Watch tomorrow evening into Friday evening, issued by the Weather Service, Fargo-Moorhead. Tonight, mostly cloudy, a little light snow is possible, maybe a little rain-snow mix before midnight, 16 for the overnight low. Tomorrow, mostly cloudy, 24. Friday, clouds, areas of snow, and 20. 12 above for the high on Saturday. 22, partly to mostly cloudy Sunday. Fargo-Moorhead, mostly cloudy and 31. Paul Jurgens, News Radio, KFGO.
Now, Rusty Halverson strikes me as somebody that really got into the Batman TV series we've been talking about off and on for the last half hour.
That would be correct. I did enjoy that as a youth.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Good show.
Yeah. The best Batman, the best, debatable, personal preference, but I think when it comes to the best Joker, Heath Ledger.
Oh, yeah. I think that's hands down.
Yeah.
And the last one is that Jared Leto.
I have not seen that yet.
It was, wow, I can't remember. What's that group?
The Suicide
Squad. Don't bother.
Yeah,
it was awful.
Yep, I have not seen those.
Jared Leto.
Yeah. I think Jared Leto could have been
I'd go with Leto.
better. I think he could have been better, but he was in a not great movie and probably not great direction in that movie.
Yeah, it was bad.
Plus,
the same could be argued with Ben Affleck's Batman.
Yeah.
Give me your best or your best Penguin impression from the
Danny
show.
DeVito would be the best. Would be the best Penguin.
Yeah, there you go. That's what I was looking for. Rusty never fails. All right, man. You were at the Sunflower gathering earlier today.
Yeah. The 44th Annual Research Forum, and that's underway, Tyler, today into tomorrow, Holiday Inn. But for growers or folks that are interested in sunflowers, there's another opportunity coming up. We visited with John Sandbakken. He's the executive director of the National Sunflower Association, and they're going to have a Zoom meeting called 2022 Getting It Right in Sunflower Production. That's going to be on Tuesday, February 1st.
Well, definitely February 1st is going to be just a great day for anybody that's interested in growing sunflower. We're going to do a webinar with NDSU. We're going to have various experts talk about disease management, insect management, weed management, just various topics on how to maximize your yield in sunflower. And it's something that's going to be a free event to anybody that would like to sign up online on the NDSU website. And just going to be just an overall good event as far as, to find out what the latest techniques, the latest management practices are as far as growing sunflower.
Just to keep it simple, and so folks can find it, I posted that up on our website, kfgo.com, agriculture tab. That should be one of the top stories up there. So
simple enough. That's just like 2 clicks away for you.
Yeah, very easy peasy.
Efficient. That's what Rusty likes to be.
Quack, quack, quack.
Remember, when you bring up Danny DeVito, and they actually had the penguins that had the helmets on that were tracking him. And then they carried.
That.
Here's a spoiler alert if you haven't seen Batman Returns from 90-something? We'll go with 94.
Okay.
When Danny dies, or the penguin, the actual penguins escort.
I forgot all about that.
God, it's just comical.
Oh boy, that was really a hoot, wasn't it?
Go back and rewatch that. Then you had Christopher Walken. He was like the creepiest individual of the whole show.
Yeah, he was. Yeah, he creeped it up really well on that one.
All right. Huh. That's your recap of Batman for the day. Thanks, Rusty. Appreciate it.
You bet.
Rusty Alverson, him, Sarah Heinrich, multi-award-winning agriculture journalist. He just told you a couple of clicks away, kfgo.com, that agriculture tab. When we get that back after the CBS National News, Paul Marquardt, friend of the show, he's retiring. We're going to be visiting with him right after this. Don't go anywhere.
Well, we're doing a food giveaway event to the community. A lot of people are facing food insecurity at this time. As we can tell, we had to start about an hour early because we just had so many people lined up. So as people come up and they need whatever they need, volunteers are taking care of it. It's all contactless, so nobody has to get out. And just making sure whatever the greatest need. We're just giving the greatest good. When we're going until the food is out. As people are coming in, if they need 2 boxes and 2 gallons of milk, that's what we're giving. We don't want to leave anybody out.
I was in the hospital, and I saw a flyer on the wall. And all the nurses were talking about taking people down there to get food and stuff. I got out last night. Got out of the hospital last night, and I said, man, I'm going to do this. When I came from Williston here, I lived on these streets for 3 years, caring. And that's what this is. That's the way I see it. Very helpful. I think it's going to be very helpful because I know people that are doing without.
I think it's truly remarkable how much need there is out there. Like I said, we were going to start at noon, but we had so many people lined up. We started at 11, and volunteers have been working their tail off since then. I'm thankful for that. I think this shows that there is some huge needs in the community, and we got some things we got to address.
Thanks for watching News and Views on YouTube. Don't forget to subscribe and like our page, and send us a text anytime at 35270.
Hey, this is Abby Miller with the
Dear
Mighty
Kansas
790.
Couch Potato Radio. Did you see that?
From It Takes Two.
Doug here with the morning crew this morning.
News
Amy Eiler with It Takes Two.
This is Jack Michaels, Voices Force.
Too tall,
Joel Heitkamp here on the Mighty
Sarah
7.
Heinrich.
Tyler Axis, your host.
The Mighty 790 and 104.7 FM KFGO. The names you know, the voices you trust.
So today on MSUM campus, we're doing an ice jam, which is we're combining a bunch of percussion instruments with ice instruments, which are also going to be used in a percussive form. We're going to hit them with mallets, hammers, all those types of things. Today is all improv, so we're all just kind of working with ideas that we just kind of think of as we go, and we kind of play off each other, and it's fun to collaborate but also have a sense of independence.
We're entering another election year, and with that, tough decisions have to be made by those that have decided whether or not to put their name on the ballot. We've covered a number of the announcements on the North Dakota side, but you know what? On the Minnesota side, we lost a good one. He's retiring. We're going to visit with him and get the answer why and who gave him permission. Representative Paul Marquardt, appreciate you taking some time, man. How you been?
I'm doing very well. Thanks for having me on, Tyler.
I appreciate you taking time. So, what got you to the decision? I'm curious. You know, we've speculated for a number of other candidates, but you know, with this announcement, you stunned me. But I'm just curious. You came to the decision. I completely understand it, but I want to know more.
Yeah, this was a couple years in the making. My family and I decided back in the summer of 2020 that election would be the last one, and you know, I just turned 65 a couple days ago. And you know, I've been 35 years in elective office, if you count the years as Dilworth mayor and so forth. And it's time to do new things, and most important, time to spend more time with family and those grandchildren. And so, I mean, I go out with no regrets. You know, everything. It was such a great honor and privilege to serve the folks for 22 years, and it's just time to move on.
Wow. I don't think there's anybody listening right now that can argue with that. As far as, look, it's time for family. It's time to just kind of and have some time for yourself and your family and friends, because as you're well aware, this is such a time-consuming public servant's job that you don't have a lot of time to really just live in the moment at times, Representative Marquardt.
You know, it is busy, but it's very rewarding. And Tyler, the most enjoyable thing I did, and probably the thing I'm the proudest of as a legislator, was that the residents got to know me and I got to know them. And, you know, I did a lot of door knocking, and that was so enjoyable, going out door to door and meeting with folks one-on-one. And it kept me grounded, and it kept me focused on who I was representing and what were the issues. And I just that is really going to be missed. And I really haven't done that since COVID hit. Yeah. And that, I mean, I just met a lot of wonderful people along the way, but it allowed me, I think, to best represent the district because you knew what people were actually thinking about at their doorsteps and when they met around their dinner table at night.
Well, in addition to that, Paul, being a longtime teacher as well, I'm sure it really got people to know you. You're teaching their kids, getting them prepared for their futures to where you were so ingrained in a lot of aspects of their day-to-day lives, not only as a representative, but also before that a mayor, but then a teacher. I think that is so well appreciated in that area. So to add that to this whole perspective for those that might not have gotten to meet you at their doorstep, I want to thank you for being a teacher as well. My question for you, being in public service for 35 years, what's the thing that you think has changed the most when it comes to just public service in general there, Representative?
Yeah, the issues, a lot of them have stayed the same. And I think what's changed the most that I've seen is probably the way the elections are run now. So, as far as what happens in committee and on the House floor, I mean, there's always been political bantering back and forth and so forth, but I still have rural legislators where we might be on the House floor debating vigorously against one another, but then we go out and eat supper together later on. So that part really hasn't changed, but what has is these elections now have so much outside money coming into them, and we know that all of that outside money, almost all of it, is negative, misleading, and false, and it lessens the whole process, and I think it creates more rancor among members when they come back after elections because of all of that. So that's been the big change that I have seen, is more of the elections and how they're run rather than the actual process of what happens in the legislature.
Yeah, I think that's fair. Even just watching from afar, as I've been doing now for quite some time, is the negativity around elections, and then what that does for a lot of the conversations, maybe even at some of those doors, to where that's unfortunately, even just visiting with people during the show today, and we had a caller and saying, "Can't we just work together?" And I want to congratulate you because, as you just described, that's what you were out there doing, and it didn't matter what quote team you're on, that you were out there just trying to do some work, whether that was on the tax, education, it was working. That's why I think we're disappointed in the announcement, but I think we fully understand it, Paul.
Well, I appreciate that, but I will tell you what, I've enjoyed really every minute of it, and I just really thank the constituents who, in many cases, voted for a Republican at the top of the ticket and then had to come down and vote for a DFLer later on. I had a lot of those folks because on the top of the ticket, usually the Republican candidate was winning pretty big. So I appreciate that. And, you talk about my teaching and students, and I've taught for 38 years. And those students, I think, because they kept me energized and they also kept me very optimistic about the future. That was a huge part. And, of course, I wouldn't have been able to do this without the support of my wife, Colleen, and family, and throughout, because they don't sign up for this, as you know. You were also an elected official. That kind of the whole family gets to be part of it, and it's not always easy. But just without thanks to them, I wouldn't have been able to serve.
Yeah, no, I think that's very appropriate. The time away, but even just mentioning the more negativity these days, there's times where the family takes a little bit harder than the person that maybe is on the flyer that's ending up at the doorstep.
Exactly.
Yeah, so I totally understand. So, Paul, what's next? Are you going to be you still teaching? Are you going to be involved in the community still, I hope, going forward?
Still plan on teaching at least one more year. But, no, I continue on this, on public service. That's in my blood, and it won't be in an elective position. And I don't have anything set up right now, but I'd like to continue to help with policy and those type of things to make things better. So no real plans, but open to all sorts of things.
Well, I think this chair might be calling your name one of these times. You can sit and visit with some of those individuals by being a guest host. There, I planted the seed. You don't have to answer now. I'm just saying. And Paul, here, I'm gonna leave you with this because this is a message from a listener. Tyler, I had Paul as a teacher in high school. God bless him in his future. Give him my thanks.
Well, thank you. And I have said that I have received many more benefits from all those people around me that helped me through life and career than I've ever given back. I feel real fortunate, but thank you.
Well, I thank you for your time, and I thank you for your service. And I tell you what, my friend, we'll chat again soon, all right? Till then, you take care.
That sounds good. Thank you much.
You bet. Paul Marquardt, he's retiring. Can't blame him. Completely understand it. When it comes to spending time with family and some of that time that you've been away just doing the public work, can't argue with that one bit. But, it's a loss to, the District 4, area, just this community in general. So I appreciate Paul for his service and also taking some time to join us today. Going to get you that weather update from Too Tall Tom. Wrap up hour number 2 of Afternoons Live next.
So today on MSUM campus, we're doing an ice jam, which is we're combining a bunch of percussion instruments with ice instruments, which are also going to be used in a percussive form. We're going to hit them with mallets, hammers, all those types of things. Today is all improv, so we're all just kind of working with ideas that we just kind of think of as we go, and we kind of play off each other, and it's fun to collaborate but also have a sense of independence.
Hey, this is Abby Miller with the
Derek Hansen, Couch Potato Radio. Did you see that? It Takes Two. Doug here with the morning crew this morning. News Radio.
Katie Eiler with It Takes Two.
This is Jack Michaels, Voices Force.
Too tall, Tom.
Joel Heitkamp here on the Mighty
Sarah Heinrich.
Tyler Axis, your host.
The Mighty 790 and 104.7 FM KFGO. The names you know, the voices you trust.
Thanks for watching News and Views on YouTube. Don't forget to subscribe and like our page. And send us a text anytime at 35270.
Well, we're doing a food giveaway event to the community. A lot of people are facing food insecurity at this time. As we can tell, we had to start about an hour early because we just had so many people lined up. So as people come up and they need whatever they need, volunteers are taking care of it. It's all contactless, so nobody has to get out. And just making sure whatever the greatest need. We're just getting the greatest good. We're going until the food is out. As people are coming in, if they need 2 boxes and 2 gallons of milk, that's what we're giving. We don't want to leave anybody out.
I was in the hospital, and I saw a flyer on the wall. And all the nurses were talking about taking people down there to get food and stuff. I got out last night, the hospital last night, and I said, man, I'm going to do this. When I came from Williston here, I lived on these streets for 3 years, caring. And that's what this is. That's the way I see it. Very helpful. I think it's going to be very helpful because I know people that are doing without.
I think it's truly remarkable how much need there is out there. Like I said, we were going to start at noon, but we had so many people lined up. We started at 11, and volunteers have been working their tail off since then. I'm thankful for that. I think this shows that there is some huge needs in the community, and we got some things we got to address.
During that weather update, very own Paul Juergens hands me an Associated Press report that Ronnie Spector, the cat-eyed beehive rock and roll siren who sang hits like this, passed away. Died at 78 years old. So it's not been a good stretch early on as far as celebrities, singers, comedians, actors.
Yeah, late 2021, early 2022, been kind of rough.
It has been. So this is the latest. Yeah, Ronnie Spector passing away at 78. I went to her website, and the family did put out a statement on their beloved Earth Angel, Ronnie, peacefully left this world today after a brief battle with cancer. So that's what they are saying there. 35270. Tyler, Paul is one of the good guys. We're visiting with Paul Marquardt, who is retiring from his legislative seat to spend more time with family. Can't fault the guy for that. And you're right, he is one of the good ones. Having gotten to meet him a number of times, and visit with him, of course, over these airways, but prior to when we're both candidates, we're both elected officials and trying to work together for the metro area. And those forums that were put together by regional healthcare cooperatives, the FM Chamber of Commerce. So, yeah, visiting with him, you're just a great all-around guy. And you know what? I'm glad he's going to be spending more time. He's still also going to be working as a teacher as well. So can't fault the guy. And I think his honest answer to, hey, what's changed over 35 years? Can't argue with that either. And that goes into what our earlier caller says. Can't we all just try to put that aside? We're heading in the wrong direction when it comes to that. So that's making these decisions for some even more difficult to say, yep, I want to do it again. But we'll continue the conversation with others, because I have no doubt between now and that June date, you're going to be hearing more announcements of people saying, nope, I am done. 237-594 is the Laney studio line. Consultants of North Dakota is at 35270. Coming back to you right after this.
Thanks for watching News and Views on YouTube. Don't forget to subscribe and like our page, and send us a text anytime at 35270.
So today on MSUM campus, we're doing an ice jam, which is we're combining a bunch of percussion instruments with ice instruments, which are also going to be used in a percussive form. We're going to hit them with mallets, hammers, all those types of things. Today is all improv, so we're all just kind of working with ideas that we just kind of think of as we go, and we kind of play off each other, and it's fun to collaborate but also have a sense of independence.
Well, we're doing a food giveaway event to the community. A lot of people are facing food insecurity at this time. As we can tell, we had to start about an hour early because we just had so many people lined up. So as people come up and they need whatever they need, volunteers are taking care of it. It's all contactless, so nobody has to get out. Right. And just making sure whatever the greatest need. We're just giving the greatest good. We're going until the food is out. As people are coming in, if they need 2 boxes and 2 gallons of milk, that's what we're giving. We don't want to leave anybody out.
I was in the hospital, and I saw a flyer on the wall. And all the nurses were talking about taking people down there to get food and stuff. I got out last night. Got out of the hospital last night, and I said, man, I'm going to do this. When I came from Williston here, I lived on these streets for 3 years, caring. And that's what this is. That's the way I see it. Very helpful. I think it's going to be very helpful because I know people that are doing without.
I think it's truly remarkable how much need there is out there. Like I said, we were going to start at noon, but we had so many people lined up. We started at 11. And volunteers have been working their tail off since then. I'm thankful for that. I think this shows that there is some huge needs in the community, and we got some things we got to address.
another News Radio.
Hey, this is Abby Miller with the
Air
Mighty
Canson Couch
790.
Potato Radio. Did you see that from It Takes Two? Doug here with the morning crew this morning. News Radio.
Amy Eiler with It Takes Two.
This is Jack Michaels, Voices Force.
Too tall,
Joel Heitkamp here on the Mighty
Sarah
7.
Heinrich.
Tyler Axis, your host.
The Mighty 790 and 104.7 FM KFGO. The names you know, the voices you trust.
Standings you're seeing on your social media networks. It's a fact checker at 4, where we tell you things that you're probably seeing online and we're going to tell you whether or not they are in fact true or not. Here's one that I've seen floating around online because it was by Justice Sonia Sotomayor.
Okay.
Her claim, we have over 100,000 children which we've never had before in serious condition and many on ventilators. This is a quote from her.
Well, I've seen the stories about surging hospitalizations amongst youth. Mm-hmm. So that could be a thing she said. I'm going to say no.
She did say it, but she is wrong. That is not accurate. So Justice Sonia Sotomayor saying that 100,000 children are many on ventilators because of this pandemic, that is not accurate. So if you're seeing that, share it around. Know that it is not a factual claim that she made earlier on this month. When we come back in just a little bit, we're going to be talking about some winter beers. Our friends over at Swing Barrel are going to be joining us. Let's talk about your porters, your stouts, and what really hits this time of year. That's coming up a little bit later on. Stick around.
KFGO News, Fargo-Moorhead 406, mostly cloudy and 29. I'm Paul Jurgens. A tow truck driver was taken to a Fargo hospital with serious injuries following a head-on collision on I-29 about 7 miles south of Fargo. The State Patrol says the wrecker, driven by 31-year-old Damian Bargloff of West Fargo, was hit by a pickup. The pickup driver lost control on the ice frost-covered highway and crossed the median. Striking Bargloff's tow truck, he was inside the truck and not restrained. The pickup driver suffered minor injuries. The collision happened shortly after 10 this morning. A judge has ordered a mental evaluation for a Moorhead man charged in a November workplace shooting in Fargo. 35-year-old Anthony Reese is charged in the murders of 43-year-old Richard Pittman, his girlfriend, 32-year-old April Carbone, and their unborn child. Prosecutors say Pittman and Carbone were shot at the North Fargo plastic manufacturing plant where all three worked. It followed an argument between Reese and Pittman. Carbone was 8 months pregnant. Reese drove to the nearby police station and turned himself in. He will be evaluated at the state hospital to determine whether he is competent to assist with his own defense. Governor Walz wants to use $40 million in federal money for emergency staff support at hospitals ahead of an anticipated rise in Omicron cases that is already straining hospital capacity. Walz announced his request to pay for the hiring of nurses to work 60 hours a week for 60 days at hospitals experiencing shortages due to the virus. The request follows another $40 million Walz wants to put toward expanding testing. Both requests come out of $500 million in American Rescue Plan state money for immediate COVID-19 response. Beginning next Wednesday, customers will need to show their proof of vaccination or a negative COVID test to enter bars and restaurants in Minneapolis and St. Paul. The mayors of both cities are putting the policy in place. St. Paul Mayor Melvin Carter says healthcare workers are overworked and getting sick.
What they need from us, what they deserve from us, is not just our thanks or our bumper stickers or our status updates on social media. What they deserve from us, what we owe them, is to take every step that we can to be able to fight the impacts of this growing pandemic.
Children under 2 are exempt from the policy. Winter Storm Watch now in effect from tomorrow evening through Friday evening, issued by the National Weather Service. KFGO Weather Center forecast for meteorologist Tom Szymanski. Tonight, mostly cloudy. A little light snow or mixed precipitation is a possibility. 16 for the overnight low. Tomorrow, mostly cloudy, 24. Friday, cloudy, breezy. Areas of snow, and 20. Partly sunny, 12 for the high on Saturday. Sunday, about 22 degrees, partly to mostly cloudy. It is mostly cloudy, 29. Paul Jurgens, News Radio, KFGO.
KFGO time, 4:10 on a Wednesday afternoon. Excited for tomorrow to get here because last week I wasn't with you on Thursday and our usual suspects. We didn't get a chance to visit. Spencer Worth to meet dude, Paul Allen perhaps. Now that Coach Zimmer's gone, Spielman gone, maybe get his take on that. Also, we got audibles. And with Matt English dominating, we're thinking about, do you set a limit of how many times you can win in a row before you're out of here? 10. I say 10. If you get 10 in a row, which is a feat that has not been done before, then we reevaluate. We provide benchmarks.
And as the person that runs the game, you get better. Beat him. If you get dominated.
Okay. Speaking of Batman, yeah, you had the whole, on a just random guess last 2 weeks ago. Was it the Batman cartoon? Kid's a freak.
The interesting thing for me is that because Matt and Abby are relatively new regular players, I'm still getting used to the nuances of what their pop culture knowledge is. I got
Apparently
a pretty
it's
good,
deep.
yeah, I've got a pretty good handle on yours and Derek's.
Not very deep.
Getting to learn Rusty's a little better. Rusty's is all over the place between what he knows really well and what has escaped his knowledge.
He's close. He's you know, within the, you know, the era of a lot of things.
But Matt, with the road trips and what he watches on some of those sports,
YouTube apparently just lives on YouTube.
Right.
So, you know, here's the thing for me. There are so many, especially television shows or movies that people just fawn over. I mean, for example, if one more person talks to me about how great Yellowstone is, I have not watched it. And I've gotten to the point now I feel peer pressured into the fact that I should really start watching Yellowstone. I think people, there are shows or movies of which you as listening to me right now, that everybody it was the craze of that era, but you didn't partake. And for me, now Yellowstone is probably number 2. Before that was Game of Thrones. And now that it's been beyond and behind us in Game of Thrones, and to hear everybody, quite frankly, whining about how it ended, I feel no need to ever go watch it. So I felt like I did myself a favor by not diving in, not being peer pressured into watching Game of Thrones. Everybody's got a show like that. Do you have one?
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's also Yellowstone. I haven't started. It's been on my list, and I haven't started. But I was thinking about that a little bit, and I think the first example I can really recognize is 24. Do you remember the craze that was around the show 24?
Yeah, how could you not remember Jack Bauer?
And it never was on my radar, and I've to this day haven't watched an episode of it.
See, and I have watched episodes, but I didn't get into that. I know another show that's coming up right now, and now, of course, we have people texting how fantastic something with twist. Yes, I get it. Yellowstone, by all accounts, has been fantastic, as people are saying, but I haven't watched it. I mean, you don't have to have Paramount Plus to watch it, right?
I see. That's the other thing.
I don't even know where I could watch it.
That's the other. I know that's the streaming source for it. You could probably find it on something like Amazon if you pay a little bit for it to watch it.
Okay.
So I think that Paramount is the place that you can, with a subscription fee, watch it. And there may be a commercial option. I know some of those newer ones, like Peacock has a...
Now, that's another reason why I don't probably get into the newer shows. Another one, for example, people are like, oh, Dexter's back. You got to start watching Dexter. Mm-hmm. I never watched the original Dexter. I'm not going to watch the new one. I've got no interest in watching Dexter.
I did watch the original Dexter, and it is similar to Game of Thrones. It was, at its peak, as good as TV gets, finished in a crash landing rather than a smooth landing.
See, and now there are so many shows that just went 2 or 3 seasons too long.
Yep.
That's why I love Breaking Bad. They had, their 4 or 5, in which, you know what? They knew what they were as a show, and they knew that at this point, we're done.
Yep.
And that's why I think that's like one of the best television shows that I've ever watched.
And I think that was by design. I think I forget the showrunner's name. It's Gillian or something like that. But he, from the very start of it, said, "I want to tell Walter White's story,"
and he did it.
And that's it.
Job. Loving to hating him. Tyler Lost could not get into it. I never got into Lost either. I mean, see, that's the thing for me.
I'm starting to see that the dramas are not really in your wheelhouse.
Yeah, no, I want to watch something mindless, something funny. That's why it's like, okay, Archer, The Office, It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia is always on if that's going to be the case. Malcolm in the Middle, like all these just completely stupid nonsense shows. Parks and Rec. I don't want to think. People say you don't think from 2 to 5. I listen regularly, and I don't want. So okay, that I want to extend that beyond 5 o'clock when I get home if I turn the TV on. So for all the people that listen to Audible and say, God, all you do is watch TV, man. I really don't. Maybe I just don't watch some of these classics that everyone brags about. And people are telling me where I can watch. You really want me to start watching Yellowstone, and I get it. That peer pressure is what I felt the entire trip in Frisco. And every time I come in the building, I'm looking over to the production studio here, and Derek Hanson's in there. And he's talking about, you know what, I'm not even going to watch the Packers-Vikings games. I'm going to watch the season finale of Yellowstone.
Yeah, that does say something that a Vikings fan of that merit. Now, granted, that Packers-Vikings game was terrible.
Yeah, I didn't even finish watching that, but I didn't switch over to watch Yellowstone. Tyler, the show I never got into was Seinfeld.
Ooh.
Seinfeld, the greatest comedy arguably ever on television. That Letterkenny comes in. Okay, that's one that I dabbled in. That's another show, unless you're saying that mindless comedy. I've watched a couple episodes. I enjoyed. No, I enjoyed. I didn't continue. I think life got in the way.
Yep.
We moved.
That's definitely one that you could start throwing on in the background, and you will catch. It's very quotable. It's very easy to watch as an active watch or a passive watch.
Yeah, see, and I'm a passive watcher on these things. That's why I like South Park also.
Although South Park is got a lot of very cutting social commentary in it.
I'm aware. It's gotten more so than I think in years past. But tell me, what are the shows in which people want to shove in your face but you refuse to watch or you haven't got into? 35270, I Consultants of North Dakota. Laney studio line at 237-5948. When we come back in just a little bit, let's talk about Winter Beer Swing Barrel. I want to be more knowledgeable about what they've got on tap over there in Moorhead. I've enjoyed their products before, but tell me a little bit more. We'll visit with Nick in just a little bit. You are listening to Afternoons Live on 790 AM and 104.7 FM, or perhaps watching us do radio on YouTube, KFGO.
So today on MSUM campus, we're doing an ice jam, which is we're combining a bunch of percussion instruments with ice instruments, which are also going to be used in a percussive form. We're going to hit them with mallets, hammers, all those types of things. Today is all improv, so we're all just kind of working with ideas that we just kind of think of as we go, and we kind of play off each other, and it's fun to collaborate but also have a sense of independence.
Hey, this is Abby Miller with the
Derek Hansen, Couch Potato Radio.
DJ Gordon from It Takes Two.
Tubular with the morning crew this morning.
Jerkins News Radio.
Katie Eiler with It Takes Two.
This is Jack Michaels, Voices Forces.
Too tall,
Joel Heitkamp here on the Mighty
Sarah Heinrich.
Tyler Axis, your host.
The Mighty 790 and 104.7 FM KFGO. The names you know, the voices you trust.
Thanks for watching News and Views on YouTube. Don't forget to subscribe and like our page. And send us a text anytime at 35270.
Well, we're doing a food giveaway event to the community. A lot of people are facing food insecurity at this time. As we can tell, we had to start about an hour early because we just had so many people lined up. So as people come up and they need whatever they need, volunteers are taking care of it. It's all contactless, so nobody has to get out. And just making sure whatever the greatest need. We're just giving the greatest good. When we're going until the food is out. As people are coming in, if they need 2 boxes and 2 gallons of milk, that's what we're giving. We don't want to leave anybody out.
I was in the hospital, and I saw a flyer on the wall. And all the nurses were talking about taking people down there to get food and stuff. I got out last night. Got out of the hospital last night, and I said, man, I'm going to do this. When I came from Williston here, I lived on these streets for 3 years, caring. And that's what this is. That's the way I see it. Very helpful. I think it's going to be very helpful because I know people that are doing without.
I think it's truly remarkable how much need there is out there. Like I said, we were going to start at noon, but we had so many people lined up. We started at 11. and volunteers have been working their tail off since then. I'm thankful for that. I think this shows that there is some huge needs in the community, and we got some things we got to address.
Was unpresidential. They did not. They pretended that they didn't see it because then they didn't have to comment on it. But boy, they're not missing a single word or a single opportunity to comment on what this president is saying. So it's just quite eye-rolling moment for me, quite comical at times that they're up in arms saying, oh, you're just so mean to us. 237-5948, that's Lenny's studio line. You can also text in to the Eye Consultants of North Dakota at 35270. Tyler, I never got into This Is Us. That show has been forced upon this guy because of the significant. Sometimes you don't get control of the remote in your shared living quarters.
Or sometimes you just watch a show that your significant other really enjoys.
Yeah, just kind of at the corner of the eye.
Sure.
So yeah,
I'm guessing your phone is
nope, not yet.
Fixed to your hand during that show.
Yes, I thought you meant going to be blowing up now. I said, no, there's a 7-second delay from when I speak into this mic to where somebody on the other end of these airwaves hear it.
No, I'm saying if we had a live look in at the sofa while This Is Us is on, there may be a phone in the hand for most of it.
Or a tablet of some sort. Really being productive as well at that time.
I just got to get I got to get these emails done.
Yeah. Last night, This Is Us was on our television. Got to say, it's okay. But if you haven't got into it, I also understand as well. Tyler, please tell me you watch Family Guy. Let me tell you a story about Family Guy and me. When I was younger, I remember, I heard the morning crew talking about posters you had on your wall. Mm-hmm. And I kid you not, like in the early stages of college, I was I had Brooke Burke.
Sure.
Then I had like the very long poster of Family Guy.
Really?
Yep.
Okay.
I probably got it at Spencer Gifts for all I know. But here's where Family Guy and I parted ways. Circling back to South Park. South Park did an episode criticizing the show Family Guy and their comedic aspect and what they do.
Mm-hmm.
And it was so spot on and so accurate in what Family Guy is that I haven't gotten back. South
Matt
Park
and Trey
ruined Family Guy for me.
Wow.
Yeah. So I did. I don't fault people that still are into it, but it was South Park that ruined it for me. Other shows, yes, if I don't tell me, not only that I should watch Yellowstone, but where I can watch Yellowstone. You can watch it free on Peacock. You can watch the first 3 seasons free there. Tyler, shows I never got into. Boardwalk and Bad Blood were really great, ?
I'm thinking that that the texter's referring to Boardwalk Empire.
Oh, okay.
Which was a fantastic HBO show.
See, count me in as never had seen either of the shows you're talking about. Tyler, you would like The Ranch. I have watched a couple episodes of The Ranch, and I did. Because, I liked that 70s show as well. I know it has Ashton Kutcher and Danny Masterson. I kept on wanting to say Danny McBride, but I knew it was not Danny McBride. Speaking of Danny McBride, Eastbound and Down, count me as watching that as a mindless comedy just to escape. And I did enjoy. I know that Danny's not there because he's had a lot of legal issues because of his personal conduct. I think sexual allegations, so he's no longer there. But again, if you throw a Sam Elliott in the mix, which is here, how will we come full circle? then you can buy me in. So I might not watch Yellowstone, but the precursor to Yellowstone, that 1863 or whatever, that's got Sam Elliott. Maybe I'll watch that just because he's in it. There, that's how you'll get me into watching your Yellowstone. I'll watch Sam Elliott's build up to it with Tim McGraw and Faith Hill.
As two guys who haven't watched Yellowstone talking in a room, but I believe one of the main characters is a prominent character in Dazed and Confused.
He was the redhead in Dazed and Confused. And Derek Hansen, of course, as I was saying, I don't watch it, but he showed me it, and I would not have recognized him at all. All right, so we're not alone. There are a lot of popular shows which we've never watched. Turns out all of them for me. All of the ones you threw in on me, I never really got into this, that, and the other thing either. Here's what's coming up. Here's something I have gotten into. Swing Barrel, a brewery in Moorhead. Their product is great. You know me. I'm one of those. I like kind of that middle of the pack, that box, those red ales, those ambers. I also like this time of year those winter, the porters, the stouts. I want to ask them what they've got lined up, what they have been doing, how it's gone. Quite frankly, the last time we had Swing Barrel on was when they opened their bar for takeout only, just because it was the beginning of the pandemic. So I think it's been 2 years. So we'll check in with them after we get you checked in with KFGO News, and we'll get a CBS National News update as well. Final half hour of Afternoons Live going to be getting underway. I'm Tyler Axonis, your host. Eric Johnson's our producer. We got another half hour with you right here on KFGO.
Here with another Dine News Radio.
Hey, this is Abby Miller with the
Derek Hansen, Couch Potato Radio. Did you see that? It Takes Two.
Doug here with the morning crew this morning.
News Radio.
Amy Eiler with It Takes Two.
This is Jack Michaels, Voices Forces.
Too tall,
Joel Heitkamp here on the Mighty
Sarah Heinrich.
Tyler Axis, your host.
The Mighty 790 and 104.7 FM KFGO. The names you know, the voices you trust.
Thanks for watching News and Views on YouTube. Don't forget to subscribe and like our page. And send us a text anytime at 35270.
Well, we're doing a food giveaway event to the community. A lot of people are facing food insecurity at this time. As we can tell, we had to start about an hour early because we just had so many people lined up. So as people come up and they need whatever they need, volunteers are taking care of it. It's all contactless, so nobody has to get out, and just making sure whatever the greatest need. We're just getting the greatest good. We're going until the food is out. As people are coming in, if they need 2 boxes and 2 gallons of milk, that's what we're giving. We don't want to leave anybody out.
I was in the hospital, and I saw a flyer on the wall. And all the nurses were talking about taking people down there to get food and stuff. I got out last night, the hospital last night, and I said, man, I'm going to do this. When I came from Williston here, I lived on these streets for 3 years, caring. And that's what this is. That's the way I see it. Very helpful. I think it's going to be very helpful because I know people that are doing without.
I think it's truly remarkable how much need there is out there. Like I said, we were going to start at noon, but we had so many people lined up. We started at 11, and volunteers have been working their tail off since then. I'm thankful for that. I think this shows that there is some huge needs in the community, and we got some things we got to address.
So today on MSUM campus, we're doing an ice jam, which is we're combining
cloudy, 28 degrees. I'm Paul Juergens. Overnight 16, mostly cloudy, a chance of a little light snow, and we are will be under a winter storm watch tomorrow evening through Friday evening. After 21 years on the run, a man wanted for sexual misconduct with a teenage girl in Moorhead has been arrested. 67-year-old Curtis Brovold was arrested by the FBI in Cancun, Mexico today. He was a computer technician when police say he began communicating with the 14-year-old girl and eventually flew to Moorhead where they had sex at a hotel. Moorhead Police Captain Derek Swenson says the arrest was the result of ongoing collaboration between local, federal, and international law enforcement. Brovold was arrested outside his home. A judge has ordered a mental evaluation for a Moorhead man charged in a November workplace shooting in Fargo. 35-year-old Anthony Reese Jr. is charged in the murders of 43-year-old Richard Pittman, his girlfriend, 32-year-old April Carbone, and their unborn child. Prosecutors say Pittman and Carbone were shot at the North Fargo plastic manufacturing plant where all three worked. It followed an argument between Reese and Pittman. State Representative Paul Marquardt says he won't seek re-election this year. The Democrat from Dilworth represents District 4B, which serves portions of Clay, Becker, and Norman counties. He's been in the legislature for more than 20 years.
Some surprise, certainly, and a lot of well wishes. And, you've worked with colleagues for 22 years in some cases, just like a regular workplace, that you get to know them, and it's difficult. But, in the end, it just, especially with constituents, what I enjoyed the most as a legislator was going door to door. And what I was proud about is that I got to know the constituents.
Marquardt says he does plan to continue teaching for another year at DGF High School in Dilworth. 28, this is KFGO News. .28 degrees. This is KFGO News. A judge has agreed to delay a state court trial for three former Minneapolis police officers charged in George Floyd's death, though he did not immediately set a date. Hennepin County Judge Peter Cahill told attorneys to agree on a new date that's within 1 year. They must tell the court by Sunday. Cahill says if they can't agree, the trial will remain set for March 7th. The three face charges of aiding and abetting murder and manslaughter. Their attorneys and prosecutors asked to delay the trial because the three first have a federal trial later this month on charges they violated Floyd's civil rights. A jury trial has been scheduled for a man accused of walking into a clinic and opening fire near the Twin Cities, killing one employee and wounding 4 others last year. Gregory Ulrich is scheduled for trial May 16th on charges of murder, attempted murder, and other counts in the February shooting at the Alina Health Clinic in Buffalo. North Dakota's Science and Innovation Board has attracted another company with a $117,000 grant. Corvent Medical will set up at NDSU. It designs and manufactures a smart ventilator. John O'Mahony is Corvent Medical Chief Technology and Operations Manager.
It can be stored for long periods of time and be used in an emergency, and that's because any of the perishable items that would normally be in a ventilator are external to the ventilator. So one of the issues we had during the pandemic was ventilators were available, but they were required to be serviced, and no service people were available.
The company was started at the beginning of the pandemic. Corvent Medical will bring about 100 jobs over the next 3 years. It'll move production of the ventilator from California to North Dakota in the next year. Wahpeton is a possible location for a factory. KFGO Weather Center forecast. Again, winter storm watch going into effect tomorrow evening, running through late Friday into Friday evening. Fargo-Moorhead mostly cloudy tonight. We might see a little light snow or mixed precipitation. Probably before midnight if we see anything. 16 for the overnight low. Tomorrow about 24 under a mostly cloudy sky. Friday, clouds again, breezy, areas of snow, and 20 with a falling temperature after that 20-degree high. 12 on Saturday, partly sunny. Sunday, partly to mostly cloudy, near 22. Fargo-Moorhead, 28 and mostly cloudy. Paul Jurgens, News Radio, KFGO.
Somewhere in the wild right now, after that third piano strikes, I imagine a wild Chase Miller's head popping out saying, I hear Britney Spears somewhere. I got so carried away on this date at the 3 o'clock hour that 56 years ago today, the Batman TV series premiered, ABC 1966. Also on this day, Britney Spears released her debut studio album, Baby One More Time. I imagine there's a lot of folks listening that probably had that poster on their wall, since that's been the question of the day throughout the morning crew and, of course, this being Afternoons Live. We're going to continue on with Afternoons Live right after the CBS News. Let's talk about Swing Barrel Beer. How about the winter collection? That's all coming up right after this.
Thanks for watching News and Views on YouTube. Don't forget to subscribe and like our page. And send us a text anytime at 35270.
So today on MSUM campus, we're doing an ice jam, which is we're combining a bunch of percussion instruments with ice instruments, which are also going to be used in a percussive form. We're going to hit them with mallets, hammers, all those types of things. Today is all improv, so we're all just kind of working with ideas that we just kind of think of as we go, and we kind of play off each other, and it's fun to collaborate but also have a sense of independence.
Well, we're doing a food giveaway event to the community. A lot of people are facing food insecurity at this time. As we can tell, we had to start about an hour early because we just had so many people lined up. So as people come up and they need whatever they need, volunteers are taking care of it. It's all contactless, so nobody has to get out. Right. And just making sure whatever the greatest need. We're just giving the greatest good. We're going until the food is out. As people are coming in, if they need 2 boxes and 2 gallons of milk, that's what we're giving. We don't want to leave anybody out.
I was in the hospital, and I saw a flyer on the wall. And all the nurses were talking about taking people down there to get food and stuff. I got out last night. Got out of the hospital last night, and I said, man, I'm going to do this. When I came from Williston here, I lived on these streets for 3 years, caring. And that's what this is. That's the way I see it. Very helpful. I think it's going to be very helpful because I know people that are doing without.
I think it's truly remarkable how much need there is out there. Like I said, we were going to start at noon, but we had so many people lined up. We started at 11, and volunteers have been working their tail off since then. I'm thankful for that. I think this shows that there is some huge needs in the community, and we got some things we got to address.
Here with another Dine News Radio.
Hey, this is Abby Miller with the
Mighty
Kansas Couch
Potato Radio. Did you see that from It Takes Two? Doug Miller with the morning crew this morning. News Radio.
Eiler with It Takes Two.
This is Jack Michaels, Voices Force. Joel Heitkamp here on the Mighty 790. Tyler Axis, your host.
The Mighty 790 and 104.7 FM KFGO. The names you know, the voices you trust.
One of the breweries that we had a chance to introduce you to a couple of years ago now was Swing Barrel Brewing. I tell you, I've enjoyed their product ever since. I want to talk a little bit more about that. Here to do that is Nick Bordwell, one of the individuals that's over there brewing up those beers that you've been able to enjoy. Nick, how you doing, man?
Doing well. How are you?
Doing fantastic. I'm looking at the clock. It's about 20 minutes to 5. I'm going to punch out and probably swing by Swing Barrel and enjoy some of the beers. I'm curious here because I think I had Sean on, it had to have been about 2 years ago because I think it was opening and then the pandemic hit, so we were only able to really, give the beer away in a can. How have things been going for you guys?
Things have been going great. We've, been producing some new beers, and this summer was awesome having the tap room open. So it's just been great, having the feed still.
One of the things why I've been wanting to visit with you guys, because I think we all have our kind of area of what type of beer we like. I enjoy, the reds, the box, kind of that medium. But I also this time of year like the stouts, the porters. I'm curious, you guys going to be able to hook me up with some of those winter lagers when I get over there?
Well, for sure. We actually have 4 winter brews on right now. And we have, do you want me just to go right through them?
Absolutely, I do.
Sweet. Well, we have Sugarfoot. That's a 7.5% vanilla oatmeal stout. And in that Sugarfoot line, we also have a chocolate orange stout, which is kind of like a chocolate orange candy in a way. Also 7.5%. And we have Little Drummer's Throne. That's our peppermint porter that we made with actual crushed candy canes. And then finally, Red Rider is our winter lager that we whirlpooled with orange peel and cinnamon.
All of them sound really appetizing right now. I'm glad you threw out which ones, because my questions are of the difference between, is it preparation, is it style? I mean, when it comes to a porter and a stout, what exactly is the difference in the process, or what makes them separate from each other? Because when you're diving in, it's tough to tell sometimes.
It is tough to tell between a porter and a stout. One way that's a pretty easy way to think about that is a stout is kind of like a stout porter. So it's going to be a little bit stronger. It's going to have some more robust malt flavors, but that's not saying that a porter doesn't have like those smokier flavors to it. A stout's just generally going to be a little bit stronger and have a little bit more of a backbone to it.
Okay. That explains that. It actually makes sense now, thinking back on my times and partaking in all of the above. Tell me about a winter lager. I mean, we have, those seasonals, which, all right, well, here's your, whatever lager, here's the one that's year-round. But there are brands, yourself included, that have winter lager. What makes it a winter lager, Nick?
That's a great question. So some of it is wordplay, honestly, but our winter lager is a Vienna lager base. That's going to be slightly more toasty. It's going to have a slightly more like caramel flavor to it. So it just kind of warms you up as well.
Okay. Well, now I know. And that's why I wanted to have you on. Explain to me how you got in the business, Nick. Did it start as a hobby? Did you and a group of friends? Walk me through that process, and especially for those that have never been over to Swing Barrel.
So Sean and John were friends, and they also homebrewed kind of around the same time. And they knew that Moorhead could handle another brewery, and it was just kind of passion of theirs. Me personally, I started brewing a few years back, and then I went to school for brewing at St. Louis University. And when they had a spot open for a brewer, that's when I came in.
Nice. Question about the naming. I'm scrolling through a swingbarrelbrew.com. I'm looking at, you got the Gatekeeper and Keymaster, for example, for all you Ghostbusters fans. Do you get a say when you make your blend, when you get your chocolate orange flavor stout? Do you get a say in what you name it?
So yeah, that's a lot of that is Sean.
Okay.
He will kind of run through the naming, but we get to vote, and kind of talk about what we like and kind of, we have a baseball theme, and everybody here loves baseball. We like baseball, so that's kind of how we roll with that.
Well, and that, I guess, makes sense when you have Swing Barrel. Let's swing right in the name there. I didn't even know that. Now I do.
That's right.
So when do you do the switch over or when it comes to the preparation? Because, or maybe I'm wrong in assuming that, do you have these types of winter, the winter lager, the stouts, those porters, do you keep them on tap? Or at what point do you say, all right, well, that seasonal is behind us? Do you have, it just depends on the weather outside, or is there a set date? Walk me through that a little, Nick.
So, in Minnesota, we are quite seasonal drinkers. When it does get cold, we want to warm ourselves up. So we'll see that. But we get excited as Minnesotans, as Midwesterns, right, about nice weather. So that's when we, bring out our fruited wheat ales and things like that. So it is slightly weather dependent. Also, sometimes people just like to drink a nice Pilsner, and we do have that on over the winter because that's just a good sessionable beer as well.
Yeah. See, it's weird because I could have a stout or a porter any time of year, but, I'll just pick one of those. I can't do like a summer shandy at this time of year. So it's weird. Maybe I'm alone in that, but I'm glad to hear that you keep some of these year-round and not just during these cold months to warm up. Nick, is there anything else you want to get out about Swing Barrel, about your brewing process, about your tap list before I let you go? My question for you is hours. I know the location is 814 Center Avenue, Suite 1.
Yes.
And Moorhead. What hours are we operating with now? Can I come over right now, for example, or do I have to wait a little bit?
You could come over right now. So we're 4 to 10 most nights. On Fridays, we're 12 to 11, I believe, and Saturdays 12 to 11 as well. And then Sundays are a little bit different. That's 2 to 8.
Okay. Well, I hope people are putting that in the calendar there.
Yeah. We would love to have everybody out, try our seasonal brews, and we have a pretty good rotating tap list.
Well, I tell you what, you got two guys in the studio that will be making the trek over, if not today, at some point this week. I guarantee you that, Nick. Appreciate you taking time.
Appreciate it.
Educating me a little bit on the difference between stouts, bocks, and winter lagers. That's all I wanted to know. You provided it. Nick, you take care, man. We'll see you soon.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Yeah, you bet. Nick Broad, well, he is with Swing Barrel Brewing. I had no idea about the old winter lager. What made that a little bit more special. Let's get you that weather update from Too Tall Tom Schmansky. We'll check to see what's coming up on the Drive Time News Couch Potato Radio with Derek Hansen. That is next.
Well, we're doing a food giveaway event to the community. A lot of people are facing food insecurity at this time. As we can tell, we had to start about an hour early because we just had so many people lined up. So as people come up and they need whatever they need, volunteers are taking care of it. It's all contactless, so nobody has to get out. Right. And just making sure whatever the greatest need. We're just giving the greatest good. When we're going until the food is out. As people are coming in, if they need 2 boxes and 2 gallons of milk, that's what we're giving. We don't want to leave anybody out.
I was in the hospital, and I saw a flyer on the wall. And all the nurses were talking about taking people down there to get food and stuff. I got out last night, the hospital last night, and I said, man, I'm going to do this. When I came from Williston here, I lived on these streets for 3 years, caring. And that's what this is. That's the way I see it. Very helpful. I think it's going to be very helpful because I know people that are doing without.
I think it's truly remarkable how much need there is out there. Like I said, we were going to start at noon, but we had so many people lined up. We started at 11, and volunteers have been working their tail off since then. I'm thankful for that. I think this shows that there is some huge needs in the community, and we got some things we got to address.
So today on MSUM campus, we're doing an ice jam, which is we're combining a bunch of percussion instruments with ice instruments, which are also going to be used in a percussive form. We're going to hit them with mallets, hammers, all those types of things. Today is all improv, so we're all just kind of working with ideas that we just kind of think of as we go, and we kind of play off each other, and it's fun to collaborate but also have a sense of independence.
Hey, this is Abby Miller with the
Derek Hansen, Couch Potato Radio.
JJ Gordon from It Takes Two.
Tubular with the morning crew this morning.
Paul Jerkins News Radio.
Katie Eiler with It Takes Two.
This is Jack Michaels, Voices Forces.
Too Tall Tom.
Joel Heitkamp here on the Mighty
Sarah Heinrich.
Tyler Axis, your host.
The Mighty 790 and 104.7 FM KFGO. The names you know, the voices you trust.
Thanks for watching News and Views on YouTube. Don't forget to subscribe and like our page. And send us a text anytime at 35270.